Come on. There we go. Hello, hello. Stream time. Art time. Stippling time. Time. Diedrich in the chat. Hello, hello. How's it going? There we go. Transition. You see what I said, Diedrich? You see what I said? Just yesterday. Like, nah, the stippling's not gonna get me. And here we are the very next day. You're back at it? Soon, all the art you look at, you're gonna be saying, you know what? This would look better with some stippling. It's a matter of time. It's homework. Stippling homework. Yeah, I suppose you could also consider homework a sort of curse. Homework. Why can't you teach me in the allotted school time? Tell me that. Do it. I'm gonna play this.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Art, this is Mark at Fallon, Nevada.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I lived in Tucson about 11 years ago. I wanted to ask you if you think this might have been an abduction. I was driving down Senderio Road, my old 62 Dodge Dart. In the road at the dip, translucent, I'd say orange, probably 30 feet at the top, 30 feet high, 20 feet at the top. It was an inverted triangle, translucent. Went through the dip, my car died. I lost 17 minutes. I was going to my girlfriend's house at the time. And got to her house, called the Air Force. Nothing was in the air, nothing at all, whatsoever. She noticed a little bloody spot in the back of my neck. It's like a little V. It's now a cute little white scar behind my right ear. Now, I've tried calling other people and talking to this and that and the other thing, and nobody's ever been able to give me an explanation.
I heard some stuff about the German government. Oh yeah,
like that anybody's ever experienced.
How do you know?
I don't really know a whole lot about it.
Well, my friend, I had my watch on,
But apparently the coalition has collapsed or imploded or whatever. So
out of an arroyo.
So there's like no
wind-up watch. It wasn't electronic. It was
majority group,
and
which of course makes it
All right, do you have any
difficult to impossible to like
not a thing, my friend. Not
decide or implement anything.
I would say that there's a very, very good chance that that you were abducted. And
But yeah, I don't really know
whether or not that's
a
true.
whole lot about it.
Volunteer to go through some sort of hypnotic
I don't know why my nose is all
if somebody
runny
puts you
all of
under,
a sudden.
there's a very good chance you can find out what happened during that 17 minutes if you have the cojones for it. Now, I wonder psychologically. I mean, we are.
But yeah, I am more curious about this. So I think the coalition had been like a coalition of 3 groups, which usually doesn't do so well. Let's see. Come on. The chancellor fired his finance minister and paved the way for a snap election, triggering political chaos in Europe's largest economy, hours after Donald Trump won the US presidential election. Fun. So I guess the chancellor dismissed the finance minister from the Free Democrats Party, the FDP. And now there's just a minority government with the Social Democrats and the Greens. So yeah, not much gonna be happening government-wise. They're gonna have like early elections or whatever. I guess maybe similar to what. No, never mind. Well, the drama and you can't vote probably. Can you vote in America? Yeah, since I'm only a permanent resident of Germany, I think technically I can vote in the local elections. But yeah, I can't vote for Greater Germany stuff. But yes, I can vote in the US. I did do that. Of course, my home state is California, so due to the way our fucked up electoral system works, my vote kind of doesn't really matter for presidential stuff. So, yeah. Did not vote for Kamala Harris or Donnie. When given the choice between a turd sandwich and a giant douche, I choose none of the above. a genocide supporting turd sandwich and a genocide supporting giant douche. I'm just not gonna participate in either of those options.
In the world right now, we are experiencing abductions. We are being taken. Now, most people want to believe that if they are here, and I do believe they are here, and they are watching us, and they are abducting us, that they're nothing but little friendly guys. I'm not one of those people. I give equal possibility, absolute equal possibility, to the chance that they are not our friends. Friends after all.
Voting lesser evil is still voting evil.
Experiment with you and do things that result in bloody little marks that become scars, and then not tell you what happened. So I don't know. This whole abduction thing is worth pursuing.
Especially when the lesser evil is basically still
benign.
A right-wing party.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello?
The Democrats are just...
Eugene, Oregon.
It's basically, do you want... It was a choice between do you want overt fascism or do you want covert fascism?
And how I know that was I've been having these really bad, horrendous headaches.
Yes. Well, a lot of people.
A quick
right? That doesn't mean they've been created by
transition to fascism or a slow, hidden,
in my brain.
Painted up.
Growths in your brain.
Yes, they're like white.
Slowly boiling the frog into fascism.
There's no explanation why they should be there, but they just are.
You have two bright spots, and after they gave you an MRI, they said they probably put it up on the screen, and they said, "Look at these two bright spots in your brain.
Right.
They shouldn't be there. They should." Is that what they said? They shouldn't be there, but they are.
Yes.
And what did they say?
Not be there.
And what did they say they thought they were?
They don't know. And before I went in to have the MRI,
And why is that all we can do?
was on a ship.
Why
Yeah,
is
with a
that
bright
all we
light on
can
it,
do?
like the
Whoa,
operating room.
whoa. You were taken aboard a spacecraft.
Yes.
This wasn't. Wait a minute. It wasn't a dream.
No.
How do you know you were on board a spacecraft? Might seem like a silly question, but did you just suddenly be there, or what?
I'm not really sure. All I know is that there was some grays. I guess that's what you call them, ones with the big black eyes.
Mm.
2 notches in the face for the nose. A very small mouth. And
what were you doing? Were you walking down the street? Were you asleep in bed when this happened?
I was just laying down in bed, yeah.
Laying down in bed. And so you're sure now that you didn't fall asleep and this was some sort of dream. This was real.
I'm positive because I was in a lot of pain.
Oh, well, I understand. You may have a medical malady, but whether or not it's as a result of, implants put on board your head on board this ship, that's another question. Do you have any evidence that this is what happened to you?
The only thing I have as evidence is MRIs where the bright spots are in the brain.
Bright spots. Normally somebody would do an MRI on somebody and find bright spots on the brain, would be tempted to take you to a neurosurgeon.
Unfortunately, voting doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So,
What do you think's going on? I mean, only you know.
Because if voting were able to accomplish anything,
Is there some communication going on?
it would not be allowed.
Whatever it is that's in your brain?
Well, if voting were able to accomplish anything in favor of the working class, it would not
So the
be
next time
allowed.
somebody out there wishes for an abduction, they should remember this lady's story. A lot of people have called up and said, "Oh, I wish I'd be abducted."
Structural systems exist
Take me.
to keep themselves going
Spots in your brain and
for the sake of keeping themselves going.
from it. You might want to be very.
They will do anything possible to prevent the change of the system.
Jay online. Hello there, Jay.
Hi, Art.
How you doing? Yeah, I hear you fine.
I'm doing okay.
You're in Ohio, huh?
Yeah, I live in Akron.
Yes, sir.
And there's way too much money and power tied up in these systems
I think 99, summer 99, I was driving home from
to allow
and I was on route.
any populist to progressive policy from being
3
enacted.
o'clock in the morning, I was visiting friends and just heading home. And at night on the freeway, there's hardly any cars, maybe just a couple rigs driving by. And
It's mostly just a decision of,
about 70
do
miles.
you want McDonald's to control things, or do you want Burger King to control things?
And I had just come around the corner, and there was a rig off to the side of the road. And when I drove by him, and he was just sitting there. And when I drove by him, he blew his truck horn.
I prefer Pepsi.
I looked back, and I just saw him
Pepsi to be setting your health policies, or Coca-Cola to be setting your health policies.
And I looked ahead, and all of a sudden, in the middle of the road was I just saw the black outline of it, and it looked just like the thing that I forget his name, that guy that found a UFO in I think it was Washington, and the alien attacked him.
Dr. Reed.
Western
Yeah, it was
liberal, what they call democracies, are generally not actual democracies. They're representative republics.
So that trucker.
And they've largely just been a massive failure.
I don't know. I have no idea why he was sitting there.
Well, if he was soft, then I would conclude that he saw whatever it was in the
But
room.
because that's the system we have,
It made me turn around and look.
we gotta keep it going, you know?
What the hell's going on?
It's tradition. Who doesn't love tradition?
Floating in the middle of the highway.
Tradition means we keep doing the same things, and doing the same things is so nice and comfortable, isn't it? We don't have to think about change or doing something differently. We don't have to learn new things. We don't have to reflect on the past. We don't have to do postmortems. We don't need to do retrospectives. We don't need to be introspective. We don't need to make hard decisions. We can just keep everything nice and the same, right? Because you're doing great right now, right? The people are doing great right now. My stock portfolio is beautiful at the moment. Isn't yours? Oh, you don't have a stock portfolio. Why don't you just get one?
Another car came down the road, and I waved him.
Oh, you don't have options where you live. I see. Why don't you just move? It's super easy to just move, right? You have a house. Just sell your house, right? Oh, right. You don't.
It's like a heat
What do
shield.
you mean you don't have a house? You just buy one, right?
That was the only other damn
Oh,
car.
I see. Oh, well, why don't you use your time to do stuff that gets you more money for a house? Oh, wait. Oh, you already
Couple months, but now I kind of
work 2 jobs to
things in the middle of the road.
barely make minimum wage? I see. But minimum wage should still be able to buy you a house, right? Oh, we haven't changed minimum wage for 30 years. Yes.
What happened to you?
Oh, yeah.
You know, but
Well, sucks to be you.
You're sure that whatever it was just hovering there.
just hovering right in the middle of the road, and I hit it at about 70 miles an hour. And I mean, I don't even know if I damaged it or whatever. All I remember was this big thunk, and I ducked my head. Next thing I know, I'm off in the ditch. You know.
That's incredible.
And I turned around, you know, looking around. I couldn't really see much. I just saw a truck off in the distance. You know, I think it was gone because I got out of my car. I didn't see it.
He probably didn't want anything to do with any of it.
But I'm standing there looking at him, and he just drives away. He just pulls away, and, you know, it was like one of those, I forget what kind of trucking company it is. I probably shouldn't even mention it.
No, don't, please. But it's not necessarily, you know, it's human nature. I mean, I really think the guy probably had seen this and was stopped looking at it and was trying to warn you.
Unless he hit it too or something. I have no idea. You know, it was just weird. It was a weird occasion.
Weird Ohio, weird Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Take care. All right. There you go. For what it's worth. Wildcard line, you're on the air with Pamela. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to give glory to God and His Holy Spirit for touching the lives of Christians out there who listen to your show. And also, I have a question for Pamela.
Yes.
What gives these entities, or whatever they are, the right to interfere with people's lives?
Again, interference.
You know, people who are going through their life, you know.
Again, interference.
My husband doesn't think I'm having an affair. But they seem to, they make him think, because of weird, extraordinary circumstances. I didn't always believe it, but
wait a minute.
Well,
wait, everybody hold it for a second. Hold it. Caller, your husband thinks you're having an affair?
Yeah, and I would not, you know, I would not.
Well, I understand that, but
look at another man.
Well, maybe you should play this tape for him then.
What tape?
The one you're making right now.
Right now?
Yeah, on the air.
So why does
you wouldn't lie to Art Bell? He obviously doesn't believe you.
Why does he think this?
No.
No. Why?
Extraordinary circumstances in my life, you know, like things happening at a certain time.
Like?
So you think you're having interaction?
That I may be leaving.
Like what?
You know?
You think you're having interaction?
Stop. Like what? Are
like
you having an? She's asking the right question. Are you having an interaction with another being?
I don't know. I have had, you know, dreams, you know, I remember from my childhood, but any interaction that I'm having right now, other than seeing UFOs in the sky.
That doesn't constitute an affair.
No, I don't think it does either. But other than UFOs in the sky, I don't remember anything except for weird events going around, and I can't possibly explain them.
Well, you must have told him something to make him think that.
Oh, no.
Nothing at all?
No.
So he's plucking this right out of the air, thin air.
I guess so.
Well, I guess listen to Leo Biscaglia and Carolyn Mace, and maybe that'll help you a bit. They're really incredibly self-empowering people.
Well, I worked with Frank Machino on his book, The Braxton County Monster, cover of the Flatwoods Monster Reveal, happened in 1252. And the kicker is that some people complain. You talk about dogfights between military planes and UFOs. We did a lot of looking, and we found loads of instances of such dogfights. And what we also found, to my surprise, believe it or not, was that orders were issued to military pilots to shoot down UFOs if they don't land when instructed to do so. This is in the summer of '52. Think about that for a minute.
Oh, I've thought a lot about that.
Now, there's another quote that we found. General Roger Ramey stated that we have scrambled jets after UFOs hundreds of times. He didn't say a few or several.
Hundreds of times.
Hundreds of times. Now, in addition to this, I have on 7 different occasions heard from people quietly, nobody was looking for publicity on this, of situations in which more than one airplane went up after UFOs and fewer came down.
We definitely could. Are you telling me that military pilots have been lost?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, in 52, there was an unbelievable number of military aircraft crashes, including, and this one shook me up, there were 3 pilots who fought in Korea, where they were being chased by MiGs, you know?
Yes.
Came back. They did over 100 missions over there. Must be pretty good pilots, don't you think?
Excellent.
And they came back and crashed. 3 different ones. There were reports of planes that, quote, disintegrated, whatever that's supposed to mean, and planes that, quote, disappeared.
It means exactly that. Chief, where to begin? Back up a little bit. Where have there been reports of planes disintegrating?
In the United States, eastern part of the country, in the summer of 52, 53.
Disintegrating?
Yeah, I mean, you know, just a little article in the New York Times. It's crazy. And so we followed this up, and we went back to the old books, Kehoe's books, Wilkins' book, and even Ruppelt's. And it's clear that there were indeed battles between fighters and UFOs. And Frank tells the story in the book, and there's a new edition being put together as we speak. I wrote the foreword and the epilogue to the Braxton County Monster cover of the Flatwoods Monster Revealed. It's listed on my website.
With regard to dog fights, is there actual, I don't know, any paper on the radio transmissions that occurred, or what? I mean, how's it documented?
Well, I'll give you one example of a guy who managed to live to tell the tale. This guy is a lawyer now. He's 78. He was a Navy pilot. He was on duty, and the radar people at another base instructed him to, you know, there was a scramble. Dashed to his airplane, took off, got up to 20,000 feet. They had vectored him in, told him what direction to go, you know, and so forth. He sees this UFO down below, bright light, and then he watches as it comes up to his 20,000 feet altitude, and then it's coming straight at him. He presses the trigger, I don't know whether you pull it or push it, on his guns, and nothing happens. There was a bright light coming from this thing, and I said, that's probably why you're alive, isn't it? Somebody had forgotten. The plane wasn't loaded with ammunition. It had been sitting out on the tarmac. Then he was interrogated for several hours after that. Nobody doubting what he was saying, but wanting the details. You know, what direction and how fast did it move, and, you know, all the kind of stuff that...
Do you recall any of that?
Yeah, he spent hours with these guys. And so that one I happened to talk to, and I've talked to others who, one guy was at Andrews Air Force Base in the middle of that fuss in 52, where 2 pilots went up, one came back, and the guy was just ashen-faced, and all he could say was he went straight up. The other plane never came back, and they put out a story, it must have crashed into the ocean. Too bad.
So only one pilot came back?
Yeah, 2 went up, 1 came back. Now,
and again, the story of the one who didn't, he went straight up.
I think the guy was talking about the UFO went straight up.
Oh, well, what happened to the other guy?
Who knows? We don't know. And now, people people may think, hey, this isn't science fiction. Well, let me point out that in the year 2001, the military had a conference where they had relatives of 166 men who were lost in reconnaissance flights over the Soviet Union, China, and Korea, where nothing had been said in public for 40 years.
Hi. What is your first name?
Mary.
Mary. Okay, Mary. You know what this is all about now. You have had actual physical contact, Mary, with an alien?
Well, many times, but this is something that's very unusual. About 2 months ago, I had an alien actually enter into my body while I was fully awake, 7 o'clock at night, my family around. My husband saw me. It was bizarre.
When this event occurred, Mary, were you conscious of what was happening to you?
Totally conscious.
Totally conscious.
I was getting ready to watch Dateline, and I had all this energy flowing through my body, and I looked up and I could see 3 aliens, the Greys, standing there, and they're actually in a beam of light.
Okay.
And they just showed themselves for a second, and about 15, 20 minutes later, I couldn't get up off the chair, and I finally was able to get up, and I felt really weird, and all of a sudden, it felt like there was 2 people inside of me, and I could actually feel them and feel its feelings.
All right. This is going to seem like a rude question, Mary, but
Okay.
I'm going to ask it. How do you know it wasn't all in your head?
Because you know what, it felt like my body was just overstuffed, and plus I had all this energy just flowing through my body.
I know, I've got all that, but how do you know that it was sourced out? How do you know that it really was aliens? Now you say you saw Greys,
If I had not have saw them, had I not seen them, I would have thought maybe it was just some bizarre episode, but I don't know how else to explain it.
Could it have been a bizarre episode accompanied by something in your imagination? Could that be? Or what, was there any way for you to discern that you were fully conscious? Reach down, pinch yourself, whatever.
I was walking around. I actually went outside, and I was walking around. I was talking to my husband, but I was also experiencing this. How else do you explain something else being in your body? It's hard to explain.
I don't know. What do you think the intent was of what was done to you? Why? Any idea? Guess?
What I understand is that I could tell I'll just call it a he, had never experienced the human physical body before. He seemed somewhat maybe more dimensional. Maybe that's why he just seemed so amazed with petting the dog and petting the cat.
Got it. At the time that he was in you, so to speak, or meshed you, not only was he detecting you, but
am I the kind of person to mostly love everyone or hate everyone? Well, that's about a bit of a reductive binary decision.
Not only that, you could physically see. I mean, my husband was looking at me, and I was looking at myself in the mirror.
I would say
my eyes were felt like they were bulging out, and
As a whole, I hate humanity,
different.
and then on an individual basis,
He didn't quite.
I
Because I've had
will
other things happen.
be totally fine with you until you show me otherwise why I should not.
No doubt about it that something just amazing was happening, and
Humans were a mistake.
you know, what else to say about it? It was a great, unique experience, and I have to say that a very, very benevolent, kind
Okay, that's
thing inside of me.
That's what I wanted. Benevolent and kind. So you felt all of that there wasn't any, I don't know.
No intrusion.
Yeah.
There was none of that. It was like a child touching things and walking for the first time. So it was really a unique experience for me too.
Well, that's a very interesting description, like a child doing something for the first time. That's what it would be like too.
He was very worried about scaring my husband and scaring my son. I actually kept turning away from my son because I looked so bizarre at the time.
All right, as with most who have had this kind of experience, apparently, and you said it's happened to you before. Maybe not exactly.
That's the only time that had happened. I've had other contacts with aliens, and I've woken up on ships and things like that. But this is really a unique.
Is there anything else? You know, it's an opportunity. An awful lot of people listening. You had real contact. Was there any message or any understanding that you gleaned from these beings in any of your encounters that would be important to pass along to the audience?
Well, a lot of the encounters that I had, I only remember bits and pieces, and I had a lot of anger and hostility. So I'm really kind of shocked that in these last years I've had really great experiences with them, and all I have to say is that they were the Greys, and these ones were really nice. I can't say that for all of them, but
do you think the early bad experiences that you had were only bad because you were frightened, or do you think they really were bad, you know, in perspective, looking back?
You hit it right on the head, Art. I think that's what it was. I was so afraid. Actually, what I did was I was so afraid of them, and I was so angry at being abducted all the time that I just said out loud, come to me during the day and I won't be afraid. You know, if you just do it, you scare me at night. And when I said that, I started having these great daytime experiences. So,
what do I do when I don't like someone? Do I tell them to get away from them, confront them, keep them in your life? I mean, it's heavily dependent on the situation.
A lot of people are having these experiences. Have you met anybody else who is?
Not that kind of experience.
Are they in your family? Are they someone you have to work with at a company?
Well, yeah.
Are they a person you'll probably never see again? Are they...
The odds are, now that you have told this story, trust me, I'll bet you...
a friend of one of your friends.
And there's people trying
It highly depends.
That happened to me too.
Normally, I will hold my tongue for
So there's no overall
a
message
good while.
that people should know about. I mean, are you ready to say, don't
try to be patient and endure and tolerate until I can go home.
So I couldn't honestly say that. I'm happy I met.
But there are some special individuals out
I
there
can't speak for all
that can trigger
I've been meeting lately are
an actual
very nice. So
Again,
rageful anger outburst in me.
when he was inside of me, he was there to just experience.
no big earth straighten out or else kind of message, right?
No.
Or if they're the kind of weirdo that actually asks
Thank you for calling.
if you like them. I'll just be honest and say no.
Caller line John is in Sacramento on Coast to Coast AM.
Let's say a friend, but not too close. Well, I would never be a friend with someone I didn't like.
I have an example story for you.
Okay, stuff yours?
Yes,
Okay.
first-hand experience. I was approximately 7.
Like, if I didn't like someone, they would never get to the phase of me
in this
doing stuff with them.
pretty scary, and there was a bright light right above my head, and as
But if, you know, we can generalize this. I would probably not say anything and just avoid agreeing to any sort of invitations to do stuff.
I've heard the callers talk about before how there's empathic feeling or something to that effect, and I can read their thoughts and they can read mine. It's very strange.
And I rarely contact anyone anyway, so it wouldn't be weird if
Kind of fell asleep and dozed off again.
I didn't text someone anymore or something.
I kind of brushed it off as just a dream or whatever. I told my parents about it. Well, I was in the bath that night and I was taking my shower. As I was washing myself up, I looked down and I noticed a faint scar just on my right lower quadrant, abdomen area.
Okay.
And thought nothing of it, Sometime later, approximately, 15 years later, had this horrible pain. Went to the doctor, told me I had appendicitis. I had to do emergency surgery right then. So, in the midst of this surgery, went through, everything came out fine. The doctor came in the recovery room.
Understand people who ask if you like them. Sometimes it's just hard to know, even more for people with social anxiety or for autistic people. Yeah, I mean, there is nuance to the type of person and how one asks. Well, do you like me?
And, all that stuff. And I said, okay, whatever.
We're talking about the annoying, extroverted people that ask these questions not because they want the answer to them, but because they're fishing for
very detailed questions.
Compliments or whatever.
Blah, 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 blah.
Fishing for affirmations.
That I was to never speak of this.
Because honestly, what kind of question is that? Like, what are you gonna get out of that question?
Bodily harm on me and my family if we repeated this.
You're either gonna get.
What's gonna happen to you as a result of this phone call?
If you usually people aren't prepared for an answer of no.
All right. Well, that's something we hit all the time on.
But they ask this question as though you're giving them a choice, but really, social pressures will push people to say yes, some variation of yes.
A lot of mothers who they were pregnant. There were 2 babies in there, and then all of a sudden they have a nighttime experience. They know they've been abducted.
But for, neurodivergent people and such,
The next time they go.
where you are just like literally asking for information.
Hours before the
I think that's different.
I've had there be.
And I think you can usually tell the difference between this person literally wants to know the answer or this person is
And there's no. There were twins all the way up.
fishing for
In
affirmations.
the babies, and there was one case 2 hours before the room filled with light, and they only delivered one baby.
And what did the mother always think happened to the other?
Like right now, I have no idea if you're talking to me or not. It's a weird relationship. You don't really have a choice to talk to me or not.
And did the doctors, the nurses, have anything to say about that? I mean,
That's true. That's why streaming is weird.
There never was a twin, or did they?
And why the rise of the phrase
heartbeats and
parasocial,
They can't explain it.
or the word parasocial is
Yes, it was bad sonography, but
insanely increased in use in the
yes, they were just mistakes.
later, more recent years.
Just blow them off.
What about vanishing triplet syndrome?
Oh yes.
Because it's an odd dynamic where
I was at one UFO conference.
you can see and hear one person, but
sets of twins and 3 sets of triplets.
the other people's only input is through text.
Represented there. Some of them both the twins
And you
were
sit there and you watch these people over
There was
however long you watch.
and some of them there was just
If
one.
you're a dedicated viewer day after day, hours and hours, you're there with this person. You feel like you've gotten to know them.
Is vanishing triplet syndrome different than?
And in your own mind as a viewer,
do you see
form some sort of mental?
Have been.
I mean, this is not everyone, of course. This is
have been a surviving triplet.
people that are parasocial and out.
Single twin. But
People feel like they've developed some sort of relationship with this person when
they had that a surviving twin.
You've never actually met them, you've never hung out with them. Maybe they know your username, they know the type of stuff you say in chat.
People there, not just another one.
I've never heard of anybody having that, but they do have the same kind of thing because there's somebody missing. There's memory in the womb.
Perhaps you even like them in that context.
And David Chamberlain, we know that there's.
But that's not a real life context. It's very different.
There's somebody else in there. They're going to remember.
Right.
Oftentimes, they may be very subconsciously, but now we are triggering so many people on this planet. You should see what's happening on the E group. I mean, they're joining the E group like crazy.
Really? Well, we'll give the numbers.
Don't really have it. Oh yeah, and then I forgot that part. Don't really have a choice to talk to me or not. I mean, technically I do.
On vanishing twin.
I could just not acknowledge. I could just not acknowledge what you're saying.
Then you mentioned the ET conferences and some of the other things you've been involved with. Are there other aspects of birth that you have studied along the way, along with that has come as a...
I could turn on emote-only chat.
Well, the whole...
I could time you out from chatting. I could block you. I could block you from the channel.
That's very common. And so I looked at that. But not really. This is just. It's been.
Well, I was
so
curious where this would go because it seems like one thing in this conversation, even like one thing is connected to another thing is connected to another thing. So right. I didn't know that it'd take it down the Star Children path.
Oh, yes, I see what you're getting at. Yes, it does. It definitely does. There's definitely.
Tell me about that then. Tell me.
It seems that so often they do have those the same characteristics of what some people we call them the Millennium Children in our book that we wrote. But before the word indigo really came about, or children of the blue, red, ray or star children or crystal children or rainbow children or all these different things.
Yeah, rainbow. I'd forgotten rainbow children. Yeah, that was one term that got used for a while. Right.
Yeah, and I think that's really sad that these labels are being put on these children because there's so many of them that are experiencing this that I think we're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, but how can I listen to this? Well,
Such a good idea.
I don't know. I think it's funny. It's mostly funny.
Researched were twins. However,
these are real people
they walk
that really think these things.
Very often they have near-death experiences. They want to be vegetarians because they can hear the meat.
And
one child told me.
These people can vote for things.
Very often they have allergies.
Think about that.
They have super strength. One little boy was able to lift a car off from himself at 2 years old with super strength. He ran over him, and he was a twin. Was supposed to have been a twin. Very often they see auras and ghosts and fairies and imaginary friends and orbs. The orbs are another fascinating thing. There's some pictures up on my website of orbs that I called in one night.
Well, I don't know about the orbs. I mean, this is something that's common to indigo children, or millennium children, as you call it.
Yeah, because they're seeing beyond.
I'm also vaguely interested in
and I think that this is part of what happens to
concepts.
twins is they keep them in a paranormal.
Conspiracies, aliens, all that nonsense.
Often these people are very,
Not from a.
they just instinctively
I believe in this stuff, but from a.
they have ability to
Just like the story
they have pre-birth
and topic is weirdly interesting.
They remember past lives. They're super intelligent. A lot of times they
It's also interesting to me to hear how bad at telling stories people can be.
I was doing a research project with a hypnotherapist, and it was about people who have contact with extraterrestrials that become geniuses. And what we found out,
Like what details do people choose to include?
the original project,
Why did they choose to include that?
supposed to have been twins or have a lot of twins in their family.
Things that have nothing to do with the story. Yeah, I think I'm not chill enough for that. It's making me mad listening to them really believing in stuff. Yeah, but these people exist. They're actual humans. They could be near you. This isn't just a US thing. People like to tune out the crazies and the undesirables and then be surprised when those people do things that you don't like. Shun them. Exclude and such. Exactly. Some people have a little more carbon monoxide. Or if they're older, they've probably been huffing lead fumes their entire formative years, back when lead was in the gasoline used to power cars. It's actually quite interesting where after the United States banned lead in the gasoline, like, violent crime immediately started dropping. But yeah, carbon monoxide poisoning is actually a pretty good reason for all these crazy hallucination thoughts. You know, you go about your day outside away from home and you're totally fine, nothing's happening, but then you go back home and weird shit starts happening, time starts disappearing, you can't think straight, you start seeing things. These are all symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. Isn't there some Reddit thread of a guy who thinks some weird shit's going on, and slowly over time commenters figure out that he actually had a carbon monoxide leak in his house? I think it's also why, you know, a lot of this alien shit, the lead in the gas, I think a lot of it is, you know, sure, reports of UFOs and shit still happen now, but when was the real height of all this stuff? It was back when lead was in the gasoline. Chatters in the thread saved the guy's life. What's this at? Oh yeah, he found Post-it notes in his apartment that weren't his. Yeah. The guy was getting messages from his landlord on Post-it notes. On the 15th of April, I found a yellow Post-it note in a handwriting that wasn't mine on my desk, reminding me of some errands I had to do, but told literally nobody about. While odd, I chalked it up to something I did in my sleep. Thinking maybe in my half-awake state I scrawled it so it didn't appear to be my handwriting. I threw it out and thought little of it. On the 19th, I found another post-it note on the back of my desk chair in the same handwriting as the previous note, telling me to make sure I saved my documents. I was freaked out, but there were no other signs of a break-in, so I set up a webcam in my house aimed at my desk and used a security cam app for it to record after detecting movement. On the 28th, I woke up to find another post-it note, this one saying, "Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do." I immediately checked the webcams folder on my computer and found nothing from the night before, but my computer's recycling bin had been emptied, which I'm certain I did not do recently, indicating someone had noticed the webcam and deleted the files. Today, on the 1st of May, I found another post-it note, this time on the outside of my door with nothing written on it, and there also appeared to be post-its on many other doors in my apartment complex, all blank in varying colors. Do I have any legal recourse here? I have no proof except for the post-its, but they're written by my pen and on my post-it notes, so conceivably I could have faked them. Would contacting the police get me into any trouble if they can't determine from an outside source for this? I just want to make sure I'm not wasting anyone's time. Should I consult my landlord? It's, I think this was the original one. Yeah, the top comment. It's likely you're writing the post-it notes yourself, but are you forgetting to use post-it notes as reminders in any other parts of your life? This might be a mental health issue, might be experiencing some sort of dissociative order, or it might be a physical problem. You mentioned that you have a very unusual narrow bedroom with no windows. Is there a chance that you are not getting enough ventilation when you sleep, or that there's carbon monoxide leak in the building? A cheap carbon monoxide detector is a fast way to find out. You'll also have really bad headaches. Blah, blah, blah. OP responds, "I have really bad headaches. And I actually already do have a carbon monoxide detector. Guess I should probably take that out of its box and plug it in." God, I hate the organization of Reddit threads, but yeah. Eventually he finds out that it was carbon monoxide.
Hello, Art Bell. This is Dean from Venice. Are you familiar with the program content of ABC Nightline for Friday night? Yes, I am actually, Dean. This fax is to inform you of the topic for those of you that did not see it. I believe you'll find it interesting and hope you'll discuss it on your show.
If you ever
Alien life forms, mainly of
when at home, lose sense of time,
they stated that a probe
things go missing, weird things move around,
that an installation technician
and you have headaches,
the bacteria left on the panel was launched to
make sure there are batteries in your carbon monoxide detector.
a zero oxygen, highly radioactive environment.
Or get a carbon monoxide detector.
They've discovered the bacteria to be alive and active.
I mean, actually, you should have a carbon monoxide detector before those symptoms start developing.
Environment of space. They spoke about the very real possibility that these life forms could have serious negative impact on Earth. If you have seen this Nightline segment, I would like to hear your opinion and ask you to open the topic for discussion. Yeah, sure. Dean, by the way, thank you for the facts, Dean. I think that's pretty good evidence that such a thing is indeed possible. And that if we bring back material objects, rocks, whatever, such a thing could occur. However, bear in mind that the Earth is constantly being bombarded by meteorites of various size, many of which do not burn up in the atmosphere, one of which we now know contains microbial life from Mars. So, if that danger was real, then we should have already been infected by, and perhaps are infected by, and one day will be infected by something from somewhere else that doesn't quite burn up completely in the atmosphere. So I would think the risk of bringing back something from Mars would be no bigger than we experience as a general basis as meteorites re-enter and make it.
When I worked in Las Vegas, and for a number of years I did the program in Las Vegas,
Also, a lot of the stories about like demons in your sleep are pretty much probably always someone experiencing sleep paralysis.
claimed to be a witch. She gave me some very, very disconcerting,
Where you feel there's some weird
which I actually
evil presence in the room,
personal. I couldn't believe that
potentially putting pressure on you, on top of you, and
toward the end of the call, she said,
and you can't move.
leave something for me.
There's a common thread in a lot of these
She left me
demon stories and calls.
ancient.
But that's just another classic symptom of sleep paralysis.
Nor will I to this day tell you what has happened to that Ouija board.
Where, you know, when you're asleep and dreaming, your body kind of paralyzes itself and keeps itself from moving. Because, you know, your brain's thinking you're moving in your dream, but it doesn't want your physical body to be thrashing around. So it kind of paralyzes you a little bit. And some people sometimes can wake up while their body is still unable to move.
It's like opening a door, and you just don't know what's going to walk through.
First time caller line, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi, this is Linda.
Hello, Linda. How are you?
Good. My radio is not on.
Oh, Linda, you're a good girl. Where are you?
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Portland, okay.
Anyway, I wanted to call to tell you about my nephew.
Your nephew?
I was actually there when he was born. I wasn't in the room, but I was right outside.
Yes.
It was kind of a stressful delivery. He had this thing called meconium, where he sucked in a bowel movement while he was being born.
Whoa.
So he was rushed by me really quick. Of course, my brother was freaking out the entire time, thinking he was going to die. I just remember when they took him in front of me, I felt this cold chill, and I really got sick to my stomach thinking he was going to die, but then I just felt this presence. And anyway, that I never really told anyone about that.
So in other words, you're telling me that the little one was evil.
It just felt really cold, and I'd felt other things before and seen things.
And how long ago was this?
This is 5 years, about.
5 years. So in other words, our little tyke is now 5 years old.
Yeah, and see, we've always joked, my boyfriend and I, about him being evil, you know, because he was born on June 25th, and we always thought that was funny. It was kind of like, 6 months after Christmas, and we used to joke around and call him the Antichrist.
Uh-huh. So how is little Damien now?
Well, there's been incidents.
Like what?
Things with my other nieces and nephews. You know, he tried to gouge out my other niece's eyes.
Oh, that's a sign right there.
Yeah, it was really, I didn't witness it. My boyfriend did and my father did. And my father would never believe anything like this, so he took us all aside and said we need to keep him away from all the other children. And so we did that. But now hearing about, when I heard your whole thing the other night about the Antichrist, I was almost relieved, thinking that he's been found and he's not my nephew.
I see.
Yeah.
And so what else has little Damien done?
Well, there's been animal incidents. They live really out in a farm town, kind of about, 200 miles away. And
these people just
have a cat, and
have a sociopath, psychopath on their hands.
Other things I'm sure that I haven't even heard about. These are all just rumors, too, among my other brothers. So
suppose something happened and you were suddenly in charge. You had to take care of little Damien and raise little Damien from now on. What would you do?
I don't know what I'd do. That's what I'm really worried about, is hearing about things. Who knows what's going to happen? Are there going to be missing things when he gets into his teens? Are we going to? We've joked about this, thinking that we'd hear about animal mutilations happening, and maybe But now that I'm hearing more about this, there's maybe others out there. I would want to know what I'd have to do if I found absolute proof that he really is.
Most 5-year-olds are just sort of pulling stuff off coffee tables and causing that, and little Damien's gouging out eyes and taking care of cats.
And doesn't really seem to have a soul. You kind of look at him, compared to, because my niece is the same exact age.
Blank eyes?
Blank eyes, nothing there, but extremely
They're just describing sociopaths.
Pictures and very artful and knows everything and talked very early.
Probably the first word it said was Armani.
Let me write that down. Wow, this is really... Anyway, I really consider this a privilege even talking to you.
Well, it's a privilege talking to you. I'm a little worried for you.
I also wanted to ask you if Kathleen Keating had any type of advice, how you'd handle this if I did find maybe something in his hairline when I babysat him, or
you mean if you found, like, numbers?
Yeah, if I did, which I haven't, but if I, were to find anything, what would I do? There'd be no way they would believe anything like this.
Well, there'd probably be no way you could live to tell us about it.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't think I'd look. Well, maybe I would. I don't know. Stay in touch.
Dear Art, I had to fax when I heard other time travelers calling in from any time.
Yeah, it would be nice to talk to a child therapist in that instance. Unfortunately, in the United States, there's probably no health insurance that actually covers that sort of thing.
Scientists at CERN to produce the world's first contained singularity engine. The basic design involves rotating singularities inside a magnetic field. By altering the speed and direction of rotation, you can travel both forward and backward in time. Time itself can be understood in terms of connected lines. When you go back in time, you travel on your original...
Making an assumption here, but I don't think people that are more well off financially are really calling into Art Bell.
Is created. To get back to your original line, you must travel a split second farther back and immediately throw the engine into forward without turning it off. Some interesting outcomes of this are: 1. You meet yourself. I have done it often, even taken a younger version of myself along for a few rides before returning myself to the new timeline and going back to mine. 2. You can alter history in the new universe that you have just created. Most of the time, the changes are subtle. Sometimes I'll notice car models that don't exist or books that come out late. The oldest one was a skyscraper that wasn't built in a near-favorite store of mine in New York. Interestingly, when you travel in time, you must compensate for the orbit of the Earth. Since the time machine doesn't move, you have to adjust the engine so you remain on the planet when you turn it off. Unfortunately, it was also discovered that anyone going forward in time from my 2036 hit a brick wall in the year 2564. Everyone who has ever been there has reported that nothing exists. When the machine is turned off, you find yourself surrounded by blackness and silence. Now, most time travelers are trying to find out where the line went bad by going into the past, creating a new universe, and proceeding forward to see if the same thing results in 2564. It appears the line went bad around the year 2000. I'm here now in this time to test a few theories of mine before going forward. Now, for the future, you might want to know about. 1. Y2K is a disaster. Many people die on the highways when they freeze to death trying to get to warmer weather. 2. The government tries to keep power by instituting martial law, but all of it collapses when their efforts to bring the power back up fail. 3. A power facility in Denver is able to restart itself, but is mobbed by hundreds of thousands of people and destroyed. This convinces most that maybe we shouldn't bring the old system back up. 4. A few years later, communal government system is developed after the Constitution takes a few twists. China retakes Taiwan. Israel wins the largest battle for their life, and Russia is covered in nuclear snow from their collapsed reactors. Art, the reason I'm here now is because I believe a nuclear weapon set off by Iraq in the Middle East war with Israel might have something to do with the damaged timeline. I will test that theory and get back to you. Please pray that we discover the reason why there is no apparent future after 2564. So I couldn't resist. I thought that was quite a good fax. There you have it. Time Traveler Line, you're on the air.
How you doing?
Call us toll-free at 1-800-618-8255. You made me bleep that out. Bob, we don't allow last names on the air.
Music
So
and
let's try over again. Your name is Bob.
Bob.
And where are you? West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
How are you doing this evening, Art?
Quite well, sir.
Blessing to you and Happy New Year to you and your wife, Ramona.
Thank you, same to you.
Mine is also about alien contact.
Oh.
But it's more extensive than your previous callers because I've had these contacts since I was 5 years old. I'm now 59. Raised and born in Los Angeles. I have a top secret clearance with the U.S. government through the Army in the field of cryptography, which I acquired in 68 through 70. And I spent my tour of duty in South Korea, 7th Division in Camp Casey, and that's where I was informed by a lieutenant colonel that the U.S. government has knowledge of these contacts because I was told that I had a red file on myself.
All right, let's slow down.
Okay.
Who informed you that the U.S. government had official contact?
There was a lieutenant colonel that was active in the 7th Division during the period of 69-70 when I was on tour there.
Under what circumstances would he tell you something like that? I mean,
well, there was a situation that was going on at that time in South Korea that many of the Americans that were at Camp David was aware of. There was a high
I've heard this guy before.
at a particular time because of what was happening in the United States.
Right.
And a group of actually shield of the earth beyond station.
God.
Yeah.
You've given it
aid in the
on the air. Hi.
Yes.
My name is Bob, calling from St. Petersburg, Florida.
Hi, Bob.
And I was listening tonight. You were talking to the gentleman from the Tampa Triangle.
Oh yes. That was a Dreamland show.
Yes, and you were talking about combustible internal spontaneous combustion, people dying.
That's correct.
I had an aunt, a great aunt, who died from that. And
You're kidding.
In Dallas.
In Dallas.
Yes, she was her sister-in-law and her sister-in-law's son went into a store and left her sitting in the car, a Cadillac out in front of the store.
Right.
And they came out and she was just engulfed in flames. She did live till they got her to the hospital, but she never said anything. And they
well, what in the hell did the autopsy show?
Just like it started burning. Just started a fire. Nobody had thrown a cigarette or anything on her like that. And there was it was cloth seats in the car, and there was not even a char mark on the seat of the car. And she had been an actress. In fact, she was in the 20s. She had acted in road shows with Pat O'Brien in the old days. And she was written up in a book. Somebody wrote a book years ago about all the people that had died this way.
Oh, I've interviewed people, thank you, who have written books on this subject, and I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it. I mean, it's simply impossible. Even wearing clothes. I'm a smoker. You know, if you drop a cigarette in your lap, believe me, in a few seconds you notice it and you jump a mile high. And there's really nothing sitting in a car that I could imagine that would possibly burn a person up without touching the seat. That's horrible. But there are so many cases chronicled. I've got photographs. They're very gruesome on the website of people who have burned themselves, literally burned their bodies, and apparently from the inside out. It's unimaginable. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Good morning.
Is this Art Bell?
It is.
How you doing, Art Bell?
Okay, where are you?
I'm from Brookhaven, Mississippi.
All right.
I called you in December, and we talked about the Yeti yell. You know.
Yes. Would you turn your radio off for us, sir?
Okay, turn your radio off.
Yes. Turn that radio off.
Okay, I'm sorry. What's going on?
I don't know, sir. You called me. So you tell me what's going on.
Let's see, that red tide, you know, that's something, you know, fantastic.
The red tide now reported not just in North Carolina, but many, many parts of the world. Fish kills, yeah.
That is something else, I tell you. I just love your show, and I think it's real cool, okay?
Cool.
Cool.
I think it's cool. All right, I appreciate the call. Cool. Yeah, the show's cool. On my weird person line, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hello, Art.
Hello.
My name is Teddy.
Okay.
My friends call me Terrible Teddy. They think I'm kind of weird, and while I think I'm very normal.
Well, why do they think you're weird?
Well, I do have a fascination with death. You remember the video Faces of Death?
Oh, yes.
I've rented it 27 times.
Really?
I find it mildly erotic. And
really?
I don't know. I think that's normal, but I just think death...
Wait a minute. You think Death and Faces of Death was a videotape, for those who don't know, that depicted people dying in truly horrible ways.
Oh, I loved it.
You know, Faces of Death, the most erotic film ever created.
I have a coffee can full of old toenails, ranging from celebrities down to...
Wait. You collect toenails?
I have a toenail collection, that's right. From celebrities down to my neighbor, and I am quite proud of it, actually.
How... as a matter of interest, how do you get these toenails? I mean, it's not something you can ask people for.
Well, in fact, I do ask for them, and on occasion, if I notice someone is clipping their toenails, I'll wait politely till they're finished and then collect them when they leave.
Do you sometimes have to do so covertly? In other words,
Well, as I say, I'm kind of proud of the toenail collection, and so I don't mind if someone sees me, and I'm not afraid to talk to them about it.
How many, you say you've got, well, give me an estimate. How many toenails do you suppose you have totally?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure the number, but a coffee can full is a good size and a large amount.
That's a lot of toenails. How long have you been collecting them?
For about 5 years, actually. I'm about ready to fill the can and start a new one, so it's exciting for me. Another day, I found a very large ant in my backyard, and I wonder what these ants do during the day. So I followed them. I followed them for about 5 hours.
You spent 5 hours following an ant?
Through my backyard, my neighbor's yard, into the street, and across the street, and I'll tell you, he went down the sewer, and I lost him. It took a while to get the lid off. But,
all right, see you, Diedrich.
So in other words, by the time you were able to lift the lid,
he was gone.
He was gone.
Yeah,
but you spent 5 hours following an ant.
I thought it was very stimulating. I felt there was something they were going somewhere. They're very busy. I just wanted to know where, but he did get away from me. And apparently, it's a long trip just across the yard. So
you see, I can get behind the following the ant around all day. The other ones, it's a little crazy.
Times collecting toenails, following ants. I mean, these are time-consuming things.
Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, I do.
But following the ant around, what does an ant do all day?
To engage in these activities, because I have a portable radio and headphones and such. So you do kind of ride along with me now. That I think is weird, but
as a matter of curiosity, you've got this coffee can full of toenails. How do you know which ones came from a celebrity?
Oh, I tagged them, of course.
You tagged them?
A little piece of masking tape to identify them ones. Some of them are just kind of run-of-the-mill, and so I don't bother with that. But the very famous ones are people who I consider to be famous.
Give me a name or two famous toenails that you have.
Well, I've got the hold on a second, let me see, I've got a list here.
You gotta be ready for any topic here on the Higgiesius broadcast.
Did you say Madonna?
That's right. I was in Los Angeles visiting at the time at a beach, and someone offered them to me, and I'm not sure if this was someone who you consider a turn-up dealer, or he just was maybe playing a joke, but
we don't go that out there that often. It's pretty rare.
$165.
Oh my God.
And I value those greatly.
Still have to be prepared for anything.
Wildcard Line, you're on the air. Hi.
Good morning, Art. I'm calling from the Midwest, and I'd like to remain anonymous if I could.
You could.
In the fall of 1976, I was the individual that released the MJ-12 briefing document and Truman's letter to the public.
You did?
Yes, sir.
In what manner did you do that? First of all, let's back up. Where did you get the document?
I got the document where I was assigned. I was a clerk for one of the military agencies in Washington, D.C.
All right.
And I worked for a four-star admiral in a government-leased building in Arlington, Virginia.
All right.
And I had been ordered to destroy that document along with a whole bunch of others and several drawers worth, and came across that. I had the chance to make a photocopy of the briefing document, the President's letter, and the first page of the operations manual, but didn't feel I had time to make copies of other documents that were in the drawers.
What did you do with the copy?
I took it home, read it over quite a few times, obviously, and decided that it needed to be made public. And I took it to an organization in the Washington, D.C. area that I believed would have the facility or the way to make that happen. And obviously it did. I think the document went through a number of different hands and places before it got released into the form that most people know of it now. The place that I was working at in D.C. was it was a very high-level military office. The admiral that I worked for reported directly to the Joint Chiefs of Staff and to the Chief of Naval Operations.
So what you did was very much like what Daniel Ellsberg did with the Pentagon Papers.
It's an interesting analogy.
Yes, it is. How much thinking and consideration did you give it before you made these public?
Quite a bit, because first of all, reading that, what I read in there was just out of my parameter of life, you know. I had never heard of that type of thing before. I came from a fairly religious background. Such a thing wasn't even considered what was being talked about in that.
Do you believe that document, the MJ-12 document, to be absolutely authentic?
Absolutely. And the reason I do was not only, where it was and how it was treated and how it was handled, the general handling of it. There were names and individuals in the files that were associated with it that were more current. Specifically,
are there any documents that you did not turn over that you still retain?
No, sir. At that time, I was really concerned about being found out after having released it.
Now, you sound scared now. You also sound young. How old are you?
I appreciate the young part. I'm in my mid-40s. I am scared about this, obviously.
Obviously.
I have talked to one other individual who researches this type of thing, but I really don't, who I am and what I'm about is not as important as what was in that document.
Of course not.
And the specific reason I'm calling this morning is there was an individual, military at that time, I believe, individual in cover letters to that document that is still alive today, and I think has an obligation to come forward with what he knows. I won't name him specifically, but I'll give a clue, and the clue is that individual turned down a very high-level military nomination or post. He had been nominated by the president or named by the president to take a post, and he very abruptly, and many say without reason, stepped down from that post and did not take the post.
Well, that's a hell of a story you've just told.
It's gone back into private life.
I think people are going to be able to figure out who it is based on that kind of a hint.
And that individual, he's out there. He's kept secrets successfully for more than 30 years.
You want to force him out. That's what this is
I want
all
him
about.
out.
I understand.
I want him out. I want him to talk about what he knows.
All right. Do you remember, you should be just barely old enough, or if not, you probably saw the movie. Do you remember the Nixon administration? Remember the scandal?
Yes, sir.
You remember the operative who was feeding Woodward and Bernstein the information at the Washington Post? They called him Deep Throat, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
From now on, when you can communicate with me, send me email or send me a letter or whatever you might do to back this story up, which I hope you will do. I want you to refer to yourself as Deep Doo-Doo.
Roswell happened.
Roswell was real.
It was real. We had an alien that was in captivity up until 1951. He was kept at Kirtland. He was kept at Los Alamos. He died in the latter part of 1951. Linda Howe interviewed that alien's handling person. It was an Air Force officer.
Yeah, she mentioned it in her book.
You saw the film, so
I saw the film.
That means you saw the alien.
I saw the alien.
And you would describe this alien in what way?
He was about.
Yeah, he's definitely trolling. At the very least, trolling some people.
One that you see now, and they're portraying. It just didn't have a thumb, had 4 fingers. He actually was portrayed almost depicted perfectly on that program back in, I think, in 1988, UFO
Cover-Up Live.
Cover-Up Live, yeah. In fact, his actual diagram was provided to a source through Roy Patterson. I mean, that was right there on the television, and he died in 51.
Well, that whole show was a whole disinformation operation.
Because at the end, I can't. Robert Collins or somebody there, one of the other agents that was in shadow there with the voice disguise, said that the aliens like Tibetan music and strawberry ice cream. And at that point, everybody shut down and said, "This is ridiculous."
Yeah, but the truth about that is that
You gotta be a showman for good radio.
in the red book is our history of the the extraterrestrial visitation. That's true. That's not a lie. That's true. I know it turned people off, but exactly, that's true.
Give people the truth, and that turns them off because it's just so unbelievable.
But that worked as disinformation because it turned people off. But that's the truth. That alien liked ice cream. He liked strawberry ice cream. they didn't have teeth. They couldn't chew. Everything they took in had to be a fluid.
First time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi, Art.
Hi.
I was working in Germany in 1980, and I worked there for a year, and I had an apartment on a Kaserne, which is a military for the U.S. government.
Yes.
And my apartment was in an old barracks that had been used for the SS. It used to be an SS barracks.
Right.
And I had a really nice apartment. It was one bedroom, and I moved in, and I was single. Immediately, I started having very sexy, sensual dreams with a man who was dressed with boots. He had those really high boots, and he had like a white pirate shirt on.
Really?
And there was a woman in the background, and we would have sex practically every night. And I just thought, wow, I must be very lonely. I never woke up from them, but I had these...
No, you're a million miles from being alone. This is actually quite common.
And then my girlfriend came over like a month later to live with me, and she got a job. And she woke up the first night there screaming because she saw him standing in her doorway. And he tried to have sex with her, and she wanted nothing to do with it.
We've had like multiple witnesses now, several calls tonight with multiple witnesses, and here's another one. So she wouldn't have a thing to do with it, huh?
No, and then my mother came to visit, and the first morning my mother, my mother, I was 32, my mother was 56, and the first morning she got up and she said, well, I must be missing your father very much because I had this dream last night.
Well, by the time your mom got there, didn't you feel somewhat incumbent on your part to warn people?
I didn't even think of warning her. I mean, I was just so excited about having her there, it never dawned on me. And so I told, then of course, my girlfriend, Joan, and my mom, and we sat there and we all compared stories, and he looked the same. And the woman was I don't know what her job was, maybe just to stand and watch. But it was the strangest thing. But when I did leave, I did tell the woman and it was a woman who got the apartment, I told her about it.
Good for you. At least you warned somebody.
I had to warn her. I only stayed there a year, but and there was nothing I could do about it. You know, I couldn't keep him away. I couldn't figure out how to do it. Once we figured out what it was, and it was a creepy building anyway. I mean, it had like 4 levels down below, and you heard strange things, and that was where the laundry room was, and you didn't want to do laundry at night. So
well, it was obviously the place. I mean, these others had not been having previous experiences until...
No, none of us had.
That's right. All right, well, listen, thank you very much. There you have it again. And why wouldn't sex be a part of it? It is a central part of all human beings' lives, right?
Filthy humans.
I'm a retired Air Force SEAL grade officer who has been one of the few fortunate ones to probably read all of the UFO reports that were available outside of Project Blue Book in a building in Washington, D.C. years ago called Tempo E.
Really?
He was an intelligence.
You've read all the secret stuff?
You got it. And I did tell this to one Air Force officer who I think is your MUFON director down in Florida, but I can't remember his name.
Yes.
And he got quite intrigued by it, and I'm trying to put some names together for him of those people that would be able to confirm that. And
Look. I got to cut through the quick here, and I've got to ask you, basically, what do you know that we don't? If you've really read these papers, sir.
No, these were reports.
Reports, all right, that's fine.
Intelligence.
We've heard this guy before as well.
Didn't deduce anything that said why or what they were. They just told what happened
to
what we allegedly have out here in Area 51.
Did you sign?
Did you? On your ship.
Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hello.
Oh my God, I can't believe I got through.
Well, believe it, you have. Where are you?
Upstate New York.
Okay, welcome to the program.
Yeah, I was wondering, I had a couple things, but I was wondering if there was any way that you knew of that you could, like, increase your odds of being abducted by aliens.
Well, there probably are, but you know, first of all, how old are you?
14.
14. Why would you want to be abducted by aliens? I mean, haven't you heard the stories of what happens to some people who are abducted?
Well, yeah, but...
Long tables where they strap you down. Have you heard about that? Have you heard about the tables?
No.
No, they strap you on tables.
No.
Have you ever
He's
seen
fucking with this little kid.
9 inches long?
No.
They probe you with those kind of needles.
Oh. My life is boring, and I'd have, like, a tail to tell.
You don't really want to be abducted.
Yes, I do. Well, what if I got abducted by friendly aliens?
I know, but isn't that a little like rolling the dice?
I don't care.
Are things that bad at home?
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'd reconsider if I were you.
Why?
Well, because you could be a lump of clay. You could be, you know, who knows what might happen to you. I really think that you should, before you even ask such questions, you should think much harder.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
All right, go away and think about it.
Okay.
All right, see ya. You don't want to be abducted by aliens. You're too young. Your parents would worry. Besides, those things I said are true. A lot of abductees talk about all kinds of things you really wouldn't want to happen. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi, Art. This is Matt from Albury, California.
Hello, Matt.
I have a Bermuda Triangle story for you.
Okay.
It comes from a cousin of mine, who shall go nameless. She is a U.S. Navy fighter pilot. And her squadron commander told her that in the early 80s, he was on a carrier headed out from Norfolk, Virginia, to the 6th Fleet in the Med.
Right.
And the Russians would send Tu-95 Bear bombers from Murmansk on the Kola Peninsula down past Greenland and Iceland, out into the Atlantic to look for the carrier, and then go on to Cuba.
Sure.
Well, her CO was then a JG lieutenant, took off to intercept the Bear with his CO.
Right.
And they formed up on the Bear. You know, they'd be taking pictures. They'd be talking to the Russians on the International Guard channel.
Right.
And her and the senior pilot said, "Say, Ivan, do you guys know you're headed through the Bermuda Triangle on your way to Havana?" And everybody laughed except for one Russian who said, "The Bermuda Triangle is nothing but a tool that capitalists use to frighten the masses." And everybody laughed, and there were even people on the carrier listening who were laughing.
Yes.
But the CO said, "Well, Ivan, if that's the way you put it, but if you go down there and you encounter something, don't say it didn't warn you." But they said, "We'll see you later next time." And they tracked the Bear off radar, and then they came back to the carrier. The next day, they got a message from Atlantic Fleet in Norfolk asking for the last known position of the Bear, its course.
Had to be. Went down, right?
The Bear never arrived in Cuba, and the Russian naval attaché had gone to the Pentagon asking for help.
And so all you need to tell us now is who had the last laugh.
Whoever's in the triangle.
Yes, that's right.
And one other thing, you mentioned a while back you were curious about UFOs going into the water, out of the water, and under the water.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, there is a book. It is long out of print, so you have to go to a used bookstore. But it's called Invisible Residents by the late Ivan P. Sanderson, who was a marine biologist, but in World War II was in naval intelligence. And he wrote a the book was printed in 1972, I believe.
Well, look here. If UFOs are coming and going, 2/3 of the mass of the Earth is covered by water.
If something can fly in deep space,
That's
it can fly in the water.
You can fly in deep water, yeah.
They do attract attention.
I'm
Not to
with you on
mention
that.
depth charges.
I hear you. Thank you very much. Yeah, you're right. Where, well, you don't have to tell us. You want to tell us where you are?
West Virginia.
Okay. What is the name you would like to give us?
Remo.
Reno?
Remo, R-E-M-O.
R-E-M-O, Remo, okay, Remo.
Remo.
All right.
As I said before, my brother, 7 years older than I, was Air Force security. He spent several years at Nellis, did 2 years in Vietnam, and came back and was reassigned to Nellis. And he was one of the guys that rode around in the white Jeeps that you see on TV in Area 51.
Really?
Yes. He doesn't talk much about it, but I've been able to get him to tell me a few things that he has seen out there.
Like what?
For instance, a doorway. He said it very much resembles what you use now when you go through airport security.
Is this a doorway in a building?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Very large building, underground.
Underground?
I know we are in the stippling crew, but you don't have to put your balls in my
The
face.
listeners and you, Mr. Bell, I'm positive, have been through the
Who could that be?
airport security. Very similar to that. However, when you step through this portal, when you step out,
Right at 11 p.m.
I mean, what he has told me.
Darkest.
You step out approximately 100 yards away.
Wait.
Well.
The 100 yards?
Without...
You go through a door and you have moved...
You think you can just show your face here?
100 yards away.
Oh, really?
And when you step through the first
You
doorway...
think you can come around this stream showing your... Showing your face here?
Distance between.
Now, let us think. What might that mean? Let's see. What might that mean? That might mean that you are moving into a different time space.
So I do still need to set it up so that whenever you do the darkest quote, it
portal
pops out a little darkest picture.
Really interesting. Anything else?
He told me that he did not see any evidence of alien presence there.
Well,
that may have been withheld from him.
Sure, I'm not surprised. But that's a lot for him to have seen and to talk about. Yeah, do you believe your brother?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I do.
I appreciate the call, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. That really is interesting. Now, obviously, or possibly, the man may not have had clearance to see anything more. You can certainly imagine that if he's security level. However, if he really did observe something that moved one as you go through one door, as in a portal, that's really...
You're a lurker today, eh?
On the other side of that door, or portal.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Particular time space to be kept where it is, underground. That area. I didn't say that we should do it. I started something really big. I didn't say that we should do it. Are you listening to me now? I said that it would work, that the government or anybody else could, in effect, interdict some drugs, hardcore drugs, crack cocaine perhaps, heroin, that sort of thing, and covertly poison those drugs. And the net effect would be people would stop using them. Well, not all people.
It's true, the hardcore addicts would continue to use those drugs. Of course, they'd be dropping dead, so they wouldn't be back for more. And everybody who was...
Been watching gameplays of Planet Coaster 2, huh? Nice.
That stuff, thank you. So, you know, that caused all hell to break loose here on the program yesterday when I said that. They called up and said, but that'd be
Not feeling well. Woke up at 5 p.m. today after feeling sickish last night suddenly. That sucks.
In a war, when people die, they don't call it murder.
That
would it be in this case? Well, I suppose
definitely sucks.
So. Would you consider yourself weird?
I don't.
I've also had a tired day today.
But every so often, if I'm able to step back far enough from the forest to see the trees, I would have to be considered weird. Yes.
Well, even though you might not consider
not from being sick, but
is it reasonable that other people would consider you weird?
Completely and totally reasonable.
All right, what is it you do? This is not what's my line, but I mean,
took a painkiller and put me in a deep coma kind of sleep.
I take.
Call us toll free.
Nice, nice.
618-8255.
Do that is because.
Oh, but now wait a minute. We're going to have to be a little bit careful here.
Perhaps. Sometimes you can sleep so long
Be
that
a little careful. I mean, I'm not Howard Stern.
I understand.
You know,
that you feel
but I'm not Howard. So we're
counterintuitively tired again.
Tastefully, if possible.
All right. I handle the constant barrage of questions related to a device called the Venus 2 Personal Comfort System for Men, and also another device called Sibian.
Wait, let's get these straight. The Venus 2. Is that correct?
That's correct. The Venus 2 Personal Comfort System.
Personal Comfort System for Men, and
the Sibian, which is a comparable device made for ladies.
And these devices?
Both of these devices are engineered from the ground up to produce orgasms for the Venus for males, the Sibian for females.
These are orgasmic machines.
And they are not toys. These are devices that are made to the standards of quality, durability, and safety that are much more closely related to medical or therapeutic or clinical devices. They sell
Too much sleep can produce similar symptoms as not enough sleep.
Well, it can be had for around $12.50, but I'm just
discount occasionally.
If we do offer discount offers, and the Venus 2 sells for.
Tilda's a doctor.
We had for
sleep doctor.
$9.50, and I'm not trying to hawk them, but it is a very.
Doctor.
Wow. When you say $10.95, you mean
doctor.
$1,095.
Yes. And they're made to last a lifetime of the owner. And all day long, I take questions from individuals who, through one means or another, have heard about the devices, and they're calling to
doctor.
Either to buy or to ask questions.
Okay,
and,
so you manufacture machines that produce orgasms. Machines.
Yes.
Now, as a matter of absolute curiosity, what got you started in this?
In this working
line
for
of
particular.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. I was managing a nightclub in Chicago, and Chicago has some very unusual standards about gentlemen's clubs, and the club was closed due to a parking. We had insufficient spaces for cars, if you can believe that was the real reason. And simultaneous with that, a local newspaper, Chicago Reader, published an article about a fellow who was the original engineer inventing the Venus 2.
Doctor. The doctor.
Faster than any other issue in the 20-year history of that newspaper, and I had put in years in medical marketing, once for plastic surgeons, another time for a renowned eye doctor, and long story short, what I do is not too dissimilar from medical marketing, because as you stated, we have to be professional.
I mean, I can certainly understand that, for example, there would be a definite use for that machine in, say, a sperm bank.
I'm sorry?
There would be a definite use for that machine in, say, a sperm bank. Right?
that makes sense.
I mean, where were you going?
Certainly, we've sold a few, but because of the age that we live in, there's a lot of people who either, let's say, in the case of men, who do not have access to ladies, or who think that they don't, which amounts to the same thing, and who are afraid to take care of those matters the way people did 50 years ago, or maybe even 15 or 20 years ago, or 10 years ago.
And then, of course, there's safe sex and AIDS and all the rest of that, too.
Yes, and some people feel that as men age, and it is inevitable that they're going to be confronted with prostate problems.
Oh, yes.
And many doctors feel that if those matters aren't taken care of, that can accelerate
Stippling.
the point in time when someone is confronted with that difficult.
No, this is not stippling.
I think it qualifies.
Nowhere on this.
And also,
any stippling.
But the Venus 2 can produce and deliver orgasms even for men who are impotent.
Wow.
In other words, it functions. It doesn't have to be operating on something that's rigid.
What made you decide to call it the Venus 2? Now, Venus is associated with love, I suppose.
It was already called the Venus 2 when I came on board. I didn't invent this, but I did add the personal comfort system for men because I
haven't done one dot today yet. Terrible, Darkus. Terrible.
Sitting here thinking during the news, I thought of the orgasmatic.
But maybe it'll change in an hour.
Orgasmatron?
Copyrighted.
Oh, copyrighted yet, huh?
Oh, sure.
Are these...
But if you wait an hour, Darkus, technically it's tomorrow.
Comes in its own carrying case that's about the size of a large briefcase.
Not
However,
that big, then.
We're coming out with a next generation unit in the spring, and it would fit in a shoe.
Oh no!
A shoebox.
You need to break out that pen immediately and then just do...
Like the vacuum cleaner salesman, you know. Yes, hi, ma'am. I want to show you our...
We put reasonably discreet ads in some of the better...
It is a horror. It's indeed a horror.
Occasionally I'll do a... We generate...
Could be the next, insanely popular horror film.
Say that each week we sell between
A stippling artist didn't do a single dot
quality of the
in a
product,
24-hour period.
that they're sold on the basis of a 45-day trial period. So if someone...
Really?
If for any reason someone...
999.
This isn't worth it, or this isn't what I had in mind, or it's not for me.
Then you give the money back?
You shall not work on this.
We do not take any part of the unit back that comes into physical contact.
Well, see, I was about to ask for that. It's like...
No, we take back the power and control unit, and we refund all of their money except for $125. So if I can do that mathematically, a person could buy one of these units, and if they returned it, basically they spent $125 to keep it for a month and a half. There's a store in California that rents them for $150 a week.
Rents them?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
You buy your own attachment.
I think I
connected to it by a pneumatic hose.
I think I understand. How do your friends and family react when you explain the kind of business you're in?
My family is mortified.
You're mortified?
Yes. My friends know me, and it's not a
A new series of Pokemon cards. About one pack. It gets released tomorrow.
Everybody has their own family.
Yeah, you're definitely in a unique business. No questioning about it.
Uh-oh, pulling some rare cards, huh, Darkus? Nice.
One of the first press release I did, we got somehow the Bloomberg Financial Wire picked it up, and I would say we got at least 400 calls from...
All unboxings have to happen on stream, Darkus.
We'll take the...
You can't just be opening cards not on stream.
For microbreweries, for example.
Yeah.
The next generation, Venus 2, will be more powerful. The maximum speed will be higher. The minimum speed will be lower. It's so quiet that we have to put an on-off switch, an on-off light on it so that it's not accidentally left on all night. And the new price will be in the $500
Need to do, subtle
It's a
subliminal advertisement for Pokemons.
Does it offer its user a cigarette?
No, but that would be a very good accessory.
All right, listen, on a scale of 10, I think you qualify as roughly...
Lycia's appeal.
And may I just say, so that you're not inundated...
That's not a Pokemon.
But can I say...
That's no Pokemon.
Call information they could?
Yeah, sure, I've got to give you that. Sure, what city are you in?
The name of the company is Abco Research, ABCO.
Yeah.
And we're in Monticello, Illinois.
All right, I appreciate your call, and you definitely qualify as an 8 out of 10 on the scale of weirdness. Now, what I am doing this night, because I got a call earlier from Strange Universe today, and I can already see I'm on the right track here, and they're going to have a weird contest, the weird person contest. And that man definitely qualifies as an entrant. As a matter of fact, he really the Strange Universe contest.
Darkest likes.
Better qualified.
Darkest likes anime girls. Darkest likes anime girls.
I can assure you, before the night.
He's a weeb. We got a weeb.
I do like the Orgasmatron.
Weeb in chat. Weeb alert.
Back to the lines.
Wow.
My weird person line. You are on the air. Hello.
Hello, am I on the air?
You're on the air.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I was...
Freaking weebs, man.
When I was born with webbed toes.
Webbed toes?
Yeah.
Webbed
toes? I was always double jointed. I could do weird things when I was a kid.
Weebs going around filling up the art category on Twitch with...
Does it help you when you...
Anime, booba.
People always ask me that, but not really. I was double jointed when I was a child. I could.
Well, a lot of people are double jointed.
But I could do weird things like wrap my legs and arms into like a pretzel, and I would walk around on my knees, and then I would like stick my stomach out to like about almost a foot, and then suck it in and scare my ma to death.
Really?
Yeah, just terribly weird. I would swallow stones.
Swallow? You ate rocks?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I could.
Did they taste good? Or was it just sort of a thing like, hey, I can eat rocks, watch?
They kind of felt good going down when they hit the stomach. That also scared my mother.
That would scare me.
Well...
what size rocks could you... I mean, surely you couldn't eat a jagged rock.
No, they were round, smooth rocks.
Like you'd find in a pond or maybe at the beach or something that had been worn away by the water.
No, just right out in the yard.
Yard rocks?
Yeah.
Where are you, by the way?
Right now I'm calling from Maybrook, New York.
Maybrook, New York. Where were you when you were eating rocks?
Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Green Bay, Wisconsin. Do you have any idea whether the rocks... Obviously...
Before you know, I will curse you to Hegesias. Then you start drawing anim titties here on Twitch too and call yourself UWZers. So watch your mouth, man.
And I started digging a hole in my knee and right back to the bone.
Terrible, Darkest.
I would dig kind of a point.
Wow. Actually, yeah. When are you gonna start doing stippling art of anime boobs?
Kind of neat. But
Your viewership will skyrocket then.
You're right. You are weird. Now, how old are you now?
I'm 37.
37. Now, how long were you eating rocks?
That's why you're not streaming on Darkest most days. You're really streaming 7 days a week.
Well, when I was told my father was in the service, and I was told that he was on a cruiser. This is how the story goes: a Navy cruiser during the atomic testing.
Yes.
I always had a theory that sort of...
You're streaming every single day.
I think he may have been genetically irradiated, causing a defect in you, which caused you to eat rocks.
You probably have
Yeah, but I don't consider consider it a defect. I can.
A little software that turns your voice into Hatsune Miku voice.
A mutant, like on the X-Men or something like that. You dig?
Yeah, I do. Do you still feel that, for example, today you...
With a VTuber, nice VTube avatar going on.
Cause I'm the champion. Well, considering that the nutritional value of most of the food nowadays isn't all that hot, I would think a rock would be fairly good for you.
Well, there would be trace minerals, certainly.
Well, yeah, a lot of dirt. Dirt is supposed to be good for you, really, if you think about it.
You didn't eat dirt, did you?
Well, there was dirt on the rock.
That's true. So I suppose, in a way, your body probably did assimilate some of what you ate.
Well, I would think so. I've never, like I said, I don't remember passing them.
Have you ever seen a snake eat a mouse?
No, I don't believe I have.
It's really horrible. You can see the mouse actually, as a giant lump, slowly going down the snake and being digested as it goes.
Doesn't the snake's jaw kind of disconnect so it can?
That's right. That's exactly right. Now, what size rocks? I mean, did you eat?
Wow.
No, like about a bird's egg sized rock. I mean, I couldn't obviously take a 5 pound.
Darkus, we all know you were eating rocks as a kid.
I mean, it was nothing, fancy.
Well, look, I'm not exactly sure how to classify you, but you're definitely up there on a scale of 10.
Yeah. I don't know if you have enough time for me.
You mean there's more?
There is more. I hate to admit it.
Well, I do have time for you.
Well, when I was 16,
eating sand and rocks.
I was pretty much, I don't know, the village idiot. Kind of not too smart of a guy,
Well, probably from eating rocks.
Yeah. Well, see, what I did...
This is badass.
Wait a minute. Let this be a cliffhanger. Can you afford to hold on?
I don't know. I've got a prepaid phone card. I'm not that rich.
All right. Well, call me back then, and we'll...
Going around eating sand, and we know that where there is sand, there is cat poop.
Hello, Art?
Yes.
Hi.
Because it's mind-boggling to you, yeah.
It is mind-boggling.
Well, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Wherever there's sand, there will be cat poop.
By myself, all by myself.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna don't triangulate on this position really.
This person is a theater kid calling in.
Something quick.
Okay.
They're practicing.
Okay. What we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be.
Reload the spaceship with the rocket fuel.
A lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51, the disasters that are coming, the military, I'm sorry, the government knows about them.
Oh god, this is such a theater kid.
Safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now aren't.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Discharged.
I started getting...
How do I say it?
In and out.
This was certainly interesting. We are now on a backup system, everybody.
backup system. And that one
That is horrific, is what that is.
I guess we were about in the middle of his transmission, his telephone call, which was one of the strangest ones I've ever had. And the entire transmitting system by satellite went down here, and we were notified we were off the air. And it would appear to be from this end and some sort of massive transmit failure. So we are now using a backup system to be on the air. And not that I would normally believe this kind of thing, mind you, but I can't help but wonder if somebody zapped us in some way. We'll find out. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Arbel?
Yes.
What just happened there with the transmission?
Oh, well, what happened is the transmitter here blew its cookies in some way. Something knocked us
Whoa.
here, and we're on a backup system now.
Government or...
I don't know.
It has to be something, though.
Well, did you hear... Now, you tell me because you were listening.
That was awful strange.
There was a really weird guy on the air when it went off?
Yeah. Real weirded out.
Like going sort of...
Theater kids are weird, that's for sure.
Like crying and everything.
Yeah. And how far into the conversation was it when it went off?
Just a couple, about 15, 20 seconds, I'd say.
Oh, you guys missed... You really missed a call then, and I've got a feeling somebody didn't want you to hear it.
Yeah. Because it was really strange. All of a sudden, I'm hearing Mark Furman, and when I
That's right. Well, the network, of course, went immediately to a backup tape while we tried to figure out what blew up here. So that's what you heard happen. And then we're now on a backup link system to be on the air at all right now. So, well, I'm telling you.
Am I on the air right now?
You're on the air right now. Well, you better be, yes.
And
where are you, by the way?
I'm in Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah, I called the other night, and I wanted to ask two things.
Real quick.
Well, I wanted to say one thing, and I wanted to ask another.
Real quick.
I wanted to ask if you could play the remote viewing one when you were while you go to Egypt.
Yes.
And also, I wanted to know all this stuff about like Area 51, if it's like the government's trying to put it out there like that, so like some other places and being...
I would say, good interview, but you had to hear it in context. All right, well, we will continue on with the backup system and go to work on the primary system. This is why we have backup systems. I tell you, live radio's weird stuff, folks. Anything can happen, and this is another perfect example of that. On the run, trying to get things done in a 5-hour program, anything can occur, and we have had, my transmitter has had an apparent massive heart attack, or something happened to it, or somebody did something to it. And I will not mention the alternative means we're doing to get, accomplishing to get a signal up there right now, or to the network, let me put it that way, but pretty weird, and it certainly occurred at a pretty weird time. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi, Art Bell?
Yes. Turn your radio down, please. Turn it off. There you go.
Thank you.
Where are you?
This is Barbara in Kingman, Arizona.
Hi, Barbara.
My husband and I have a question about that interruption you had, and also about Dannon.
Yes.
And
all right, the interruption first. What do you want to know?
Okay. Was that person flipped out, or?
Sounded flipped out to me.
Yeah.
But did it have anything? Did it have anything to do with our failure? It was I must admit, of all the times that it would go out, that was a pretty weird time.
Yes, Art, this is Mark, her husband.
Yes.
And our phones went dead.
Your phones went dead?
Yes.
At that same time?
At that same time.
Where are you?
We're in Kingman, Arizona.
Kingman. And
we're on the other side of Area 51.
So your phones are now restored, obviously, because you're talking to me.
Right. And that sounded very...
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
When it went off, what were you hearing?
I was hearing the man talking, and he sounded like he was almost in tears.
Yeah.
And then I heard like a static interruption, and then you went off the air. It was just like zip, and then the phone went dead.
Too weird for me. Too weird for me, and you're just...
Yes.
Du.
Okay, and
Du hast. Du hast mich.
I guess you could say
Exactly.
rocks and things like that. And we have been up to Area 51. And when we got, we had passed over the Area 51 area where it says no trespassing past this point.
You're not supposed to go past that.
Well, we did.
And you probably met Wackenhut.
Well, we met these people.
Wackenhut Security is, I think, the people that still take care of security up there, and they're really efficient at what they do.
Well, yes. They escorted us off the property.
I'm even wondering how much more I should be talking about this tonight.
And they escorted us off the property with automatic
weapons.
Right.
Yep. Well, that's the way it's done. All right, sir. Thank you very much for the call. Oh. Dare I answer the line on my Area 51 line? You're on the air. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you, Art?
Okay. Are you an Area 51 employee?
Suddenly hearing Till is pretty scary.
Years ago. Can you talk?
For a few minutes.
Tell us what you can tell us. In other words, instead of my asking you questions, just tell us whatever you feel you can say without having something awful happen to you.
Well, I've got myself fairly covered right now. About your interruption, that last caller.
Yes.
I don't think you're going to hear from him again.
I got that distinct impression. Now, you guys didn't hear the whole call because here's what was going on. Halfway through that call, or somewhere through that call, I have no way of knowing, we apparently went off the air. The transmitter blew up or whatever happened happened.
Yeah, you got a pulse.
And my hotline was ringing, so I don't know at what point during that call we actually lost it. I don't know.
You lost it. He was just starting to, cry.
Yeah.
And the whole thing just went dead. It was when he was...
And then how long was it before you got to hear audio again?
About 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I bet silence alarms went off everywhere, all across the country. Okay, anyway, listen, why do you think we'll never hear from him again?
Because he was on the phone too long. And he was right.
If you'd heard the end of the call, I'll tell you. I'll tell everybody right now. The end of the call, it got worse and worse. He was crying, and he screamed. He screamed, and the line went dead. And at that point, I think I went to another call, and I answered the hotline and found out we'd been blown off the air somehow. I've got a guest in the studio right now. He's confirming. He's shaking his head.
Chaos.
Telling you is exactly true. This guy screamed, and the line went dead.
Pure chaos.
I can imagine the end of it.
You can?
Oh, yeah. Very easily. I used to work security problems for Site 51.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I was one of the men they called to close gaps.
Excuse me, close caps?
Gaps.
Gaps. Leaks. I am going to ask you a question.
Okay.
In the course of your work, doing that kind of wet work,
yes.
Were you ever required to, or did you ever have to take a life in the course of your duties? Don't let those silence alarms go off now.
Okay, yes.
Well, do you regret what you had to do? Do you rationalize in your mind what you had to do because of national security, or how do you now feel about it? Do you carry guilt because of it, or what?
Some. But I believed in what I was doing.
Yeah, I guess you would have to. You couldn't do it, could you?
No, there came a time when I walked away. But when I was doing the work, I believed wholeheartedly.
All right, listen, I don't want to keep you on the line too long. I learned one hard lesson tonight already. Okay?
Yeah, well, like I said, I've got myself covered.
I hope that's so. You take care.
You too.
Right. Weird. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Yeah, Art, this is Vince in Chicago.
Hi, Vince.
Oh, that caller that, when you had the blackout there, we heard about 2 minutes of it in Chicago, and, it sounded, pretty scary. It sounded like that guy was a little scared. And, I know he had
a little scared? You should have heard the end of the call. I mean, I got to complete the call here. I really shouldn't say that. He screamed at the end, and the line went dead. And then everything went dead. Well, actually, it went dead before that. I just didn't know it.
Yeah, we heard about 2 minutes of it, and it was, you know, there were some clicks in and out on somewhere in the transmission, like it was going dead a little bit. Then it was dead over here in Chicago for, almost 2 minutes of dead air. And it sounded like he was really losing it. And he mentioned that something is going to happen, and somebody, no one's telling us what's going to happen.
That's right.
What you want to tell us what he might have said at the end?
At the end, he was saying he was on the line too long. At the end, there was a scream, and the line went dead. I'm just telling you what happened. And, of course, at that point, my hotline was ringing. I was getting real busy because we were off the air. So, the network was telling me we were off from this end. And so I was, at that point, contacting people and trying to establish a backup system, and they were running a Mark Furman tape. And so that's where everything ended. I stopped listening and stopped functioning as I normally do at exactly that point. So
that was a good call, and that's one that might have to be played again. Maybe I'd like to hear it again.
Well, you know what? It can't be, except for up to the point where the network lost it.
Oh.
In other words, I don't, as a matter of course, record here. The network records, but they would have only recorded up to the point where it went dead. Now, I'll tell you this, I would like to hear it myself. So when we get everything back to normal, I'm going to have the network play that back so I can hear it.
Do you think it was legitimate?
I really, at this moment, can't say. I find it rather strange that everything failed during that call.
That was weird, because I was playing with my dial, wondering what happened if something was wrong with my radio. There was dead air for a good 2 minutes.
Man, that's serious for WLS in Chicago. 2 minutes of dead air.
Yeah, another thing, that first caller, the first Area 51 caller, it seemed like that guy had a lot to say.
I agree with you.
I think he should call back again sometime. I think he's got a lot to talk about.
Well, we've had a lot of strange calls tonight. I should have done this a long time ago. All right, thank you.
All right, Kevin, one more thing.
Yeah.
The program with Jim Collier debating Richard Hoagland about whether we walked on the moon.
Yes.
I've been listening to you for about a year, and I think that was one of the best programs I ever heard.
Well, they really went at each other.
They really did.
You know, it's funny. People had either a very positive or a very negative reaction to that program. Some people sent me emails and said it was the worst thing they ever heard.
No, I thought it was very hard-hitting and entertaining.
Well, that's what it's all about. Thanks, Vince. Take care. On my Area 51 line, you're on the air.
Hi, I'm calling from Rochester, New York.
Where?
Rochester.
Rochester, New York.
Yeah.
Are you an ex-Area 51 employee?
No, I'm not. But I've got some valid points.
Well, then you're going to have to make your valid points on another line. Now, this is a special line. Only Area 51 employees call this line. So contact me on one of the other lines. All right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. See? You can't cheat. The rules are the rules. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Hello, Art. Your tonight's show is fascinating, of course. I'd like to suggest a possible open line for NASA employees for the secret NASA.
NASA employees?
For the secret NASA.
A NASA line, you mean?
Right. For the for the the secret NASA that Richard speaks of as opposed to the one that we all know about.
You're absolutely right. That's a wonderful idea. A NASA secret mission line.
Right. I also had a question. You've given us some great movie reviews in the past, and what do you use your Real Talk for? You say you use yours every day.
I use it for recording other talk shows that are on the air when I'm on the air.
Okay.
So I can listen to my competition.
Right. Okay, I want to suggest that for the NASA line, though.
All right, take care. Right, bye. Now, that's what I use it for. I generally run it when I'm on the air. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Art.
Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I have a couple of 3 points. First of all, I'm an audio engineer, and you might be interested to know that you're still having little burbles in your audio.
Well, I'm sure it's because of the backup system.
Anyway, this is Nick from Oak Harbor, Washington.
Yes.
And I am near Whitby Naval Air Station here, and I worked on that base for almost 7 years.
Whitby, yes.
We have seen the silent craft that you've talked about, and also it's interesting that, and I am near Whitby Naval Air Station here, and I worked on that base for almost 7 years.
Whitby, yes.
We have seen the silent craft that you've talked about, and also it's interesting that they have areas here.
Triangular craft, sir?
The silent ones. I couldn't, yes.
Huh.
My wife and I, well, it's a long story. Actually, I'm blind, but my wife saw them. We weren't more than a couple, 300 yards from them.
So you're relying then on her description, physical description?
Yes, but I was there to vouch that there was no noise, and she saw them very plainly for, about 2 or 3 minutes.
Boy, of all the times that it would be hard to be sightless, that would be one of them, huh?
I agree. It would be, but another interesting, first of all, may I say one thing about the caller that called between 11 and 11:30?
Which one?
From Area 51.
Yes.
That was talking about the Supreme Commandant or whatever that was.
Oh, yes, of course.
You need to know that he was the same guy that called when you had that Men in Black line.
Well, you know what? There are several people who have said that, and I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all. It could be true.
And he was telling somewhat different, similar stories.
Similar story. It could have been the same one.
Yeah.
It absolutely could have been the same one, but it could still be a valid call.
But it's interesting about this Naval Air Station up here, and I'll probably have somebody at my door in a few minutes for this, but they have areas up here that are posted, no photographs beyond this point.
Yes, yes.
And many areas on the base that, of course, are more or less restricted. Well, some of that I understand. But when I worked there, they had this giant underground construction going on. Humongous kind of earth movers and things in here.
All underground?
Yes, sir.
What were they doing?
And they denied it.
They denied it?
Well, this is so ridiculous you're not going to believe it, but it's the truth. When we would ask anybody out there, of course, they would deny that anything spectacular was being built, and yet we could see these huge earth movers. They're too big to miss. I'm an entertainer, so I didn't work directly with that, but I worked at one of the clubs there. And every time they would scoop out a great big scoop of earth, we could feel the whole club shake, And they always denied that anything special was going on.
What do you think they were doing?
I'm not sure, but I do know that there is must be a rather large underground complex there. And whether it's a safety, a hardened site like you have in the mountains back there, or what it is, I don't know for sure. But
and how long ago was this?
This would have been in 90 and 91.
Okay.
This project extended over some period of time.
Well, I'd sure love to know his own website right now, and he is exactly correct. We went over 5 million. Now, I wonder if I go to my own live studio cam, which is not live right now, what the last picture taken was before all of this began to happen, and I'm looking at it right now. Here we are. Interesting. You can see me on a telephone, and you can see my mystery guest in the background.
Before the program is over today, I will tell you who he is. But you can see the catastrophic moment was captured in the last studio live cam shot that we sent to the net. And you'll see me sort of panicked on the phone, and you'll see my guest making notes like crazy. Man, what a night. Broadcast. There's nothing like live broadcasting in the entire world. There's nothing like live broadcasting, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing. Now, I just talked to my boss at the network, Alan Corbett, and he said, you know, in 35 years of broadcasting, this is the weirdest event that I've ever heard. And I second that. There are presently engineers racing to the network, probably already there at this hour. And so it's pretty weird. This whole thing is pretty weird. On the first-time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Yes.
Actually, it's not the first-time caller line. This is my Area 51 line.
Okay, they said 702-727-1222 is the first-time caller.
Well, that's right, but I take it you're a first-time caller.
Yes, I am.
See, I'm restricting this line to Area 51 callers, although I'm now beginning to get a little shy about talking to them, so...
Okay.
Bad things happen when you talk to them.
I had an interesting comment about an air show with a stealth fighter pilot that might be a little interesting.
All right.
Just a couple quick comments, if I can say.
Yeah, okay, slip them in. Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead and slip them in now?
Go. You're on the air. I mean, turn your radio off. You're on.
Okay. You know, it makes you wonder about some of these people on Area 51, the physical trail, the verbal trail, what they do with this. Well, I was down at an air show in Oklahoma, and they had a stealth fighter pilot down there, and it was after the Gulf War.
Yeah.
A lot of people asked him questions, and he was saying how they were on the cutting edge of technology, you know, being able not to be tracked by radar. And he said that they are restricted to what they know, but yet they do know quite a bit about the aircraft. And as people were filing in and asking questions, you know, I'm kind of a skeptic, and I asked him, well, what's going to happen, you know, with all these secrets of America being, you know, bought from Russians and whatnot? What will they do with you with what you know? I said, are they going to set you up on a Caribbean island and, you know, just give you the royal treatment?
Yeah.
And I mean, his tone changed, and he said, first of all, I serve my country, and I never do anything like that. And it was almost like I struck a nerve, like, you know, is this something that, you know, maybe makes him wonder, too, that, you know, when they release him from fighter duty, what are they going to do with him? So, you know, it makes you wonder, like that guy saying that he took care of gaps.
Gaps,
you know, yeah, what's the deal? I mean, do they just any policy?
I think what he referred to as gaps end up being lumps in the desert.
I think so. You know, it makes you wonder, like that guy saying that he took care of gaps.
Gaps,
you know, yeah, what's the deal? I mean, do they just any policy?
I think what he referred to as gaps end up being lumps in the desert. Listen, I got to run.
Okay.
Thanks. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave this last photograph up that was taken when we went down off the air, and you'll see me with a white phone line, which is my hotline, talking to the network, and you will see my mysterious visitor making notes, like scribbling like crazy, because we were off the air, blown off the air somehow or another. Now, will I stop taking Area 51 calls? No, I won't. Will my link go down? It might. So, folks, no guarantees about what is to come, but hey, what the hell? You only live once. On the international line, you're on the air. Where are you calling from, please?
Oh, it's Victoria, Canada.
Victoria, Canada. All right. Welcome to the program. Pretty weird, huh?
Yeah, I just want to, don't know if you know, but your international feed's gone down too up here.
I beg your pardon?
Your international feed to Canada has gone down.
It has?
Yeah, well, I'm not hearing you guys from up here in Canada, but I can hear KIRO from Seattle.
From Seattle. So you're not hearing us in Canada. What station would you normally be hearing it on?
I'd normally be hearing it on CFAX.
CFAX?
Yeah.
All right. Well, if it ain't one thing, it's another.
I guess so.
Yep. Well, any comments on Area 51? You want to blow me off a few more stations?
Oh, I can't think of anything about Area 51, although I've kind of had the idea or thought that maybe you're broadcasting from Area 51.
You think so?
I don't know.
Close by, I'll tell you that much anyway. All right, thank you very much for the call, and I'm glad you can at least hear us wherever it is you're listening. On my Area 51 line, see, I won't stop. You're on the air.
Hello, Mr. Bell.
Yes?
How you doing?
I'm well. You're listening, right?
Yes, sir. Security.
This is what they make backup systems for.
Well, right on. Right on. I'm security.
For Area 51?
Area 51.
Currently?
Currently.
Aren't you risking quite a bit by talking to us?
No, because professional cleaners, you know, they dig a lot of holes in the desert.
God. Professional cleaners?
Yes, sir.
Cleaners. I don't think I like that term. What do you clean?
Well, I use a lot of acid, and I dig a lot of holes.
You dig a lot of holes.
Yeah.
And I bet you don't let the little things bother you, huh?
No, you can't.
God.
So this is my outfit with my little clown hat.
How can I dredge the truth from you? How can I know you're telling me the truth?
Just a guess, I don't know.
In other words, we just gotta listen and believe, huh?
Outrageous, Darkest.
1990.
Since 1990.
I was in some Gulf War operations. Things like that.
How'd you get picked for this job?
Well, rigorous training, various governmental issues that you have to know, a lot of brain work, mostly.
We have to declare holy war against what we see at every single day.
Alan and Bill the Duck in the house. Thank you for the raid. What's going on, y'all?
I wouldn't want to say what happened tonight.
What's happening?
Although I had nothing to do with that.
He's checking in.
Well, something's been done.
How's it going?
Something's been done, and things will continue to happen for national security.
As usual, here we're still putting dots on a piece of paper.
And otherwise they don't need to know them.
Yes, sir.
Bill the Duck has arrived.
So there you go, see?
You know, I've always wanted Bill the Duck
It is true.
on the stream.
And my boss, believe me, is not
Cool,
given
cool.
to conspiratorial thought.
Hope you had a nice stream. Have a good
Look here.
day, evening, morning, whatever time it is.
Nothing I guarantee you was staged. It just happened. And I have never seen, in all the years I've been broadcasting, the kind of massive failure that we've got right now. I still have no idea, by the way, what's occurred.
Thanks for stopping by, even just briefly.
What's occurred. And we'll let you know, but I've never seen this kind of massive failure.
And for the, you know, the joiners, the raiders,
Years and years and years.
I am Higesius.
Stayed one time when
I make weird art thingies.
Not that this time.
You know, in case you don't know, in case you never been here. I make weird art thingies like this. Usually with way too many little tiny dots. And it all takes forever. And we mostly just hang here, listen to musics, and other random things. This is quite calm music at the time. The music can be all over the place, you never know. We've also been listening
from Bill in Rockford
to a lot of Art Bell lately.
Illinois. There's a house here in north central Illinois known to the locals simply as the Penfield Place. The house's eerie legacy began back around the turn of the century when a kitchen fire took the lives of 2 small children and a servant. Next, an undertaker took up residence, whose wife fell headlong down the main staircase there, breaking her back and her neck, killing her instantly. The funeral director's body was discovered a few months later in his own backyard, swaying from the branches of a maple tree where he had hanged himself in despair. Then, the real tragedy commenced. A newlywed couple by the name of Penfield bought the place, moved in, and one night, not long after, the young bride, Mara Penfield, went missing. The jealous husband was always suspected in her disappearance, but nothing ever came of it, not until a decade later in the 1940s, when 17-year-old Mara Penfield was finally found again. Her sad remains were unearthed by some workmen in the backyard of her former home, buried beneath that infamous maple. She'd been stabbed, rolled up inside an oriental carpet, appendages dismembered and removed to only God and the killer knows where. Her missing limbs were never found. After that, the house went really bad. Future tenants would experience a frightening presence there, one which loomed over them as they slept and circled the bed, sometimes even touching their extremities inquisitively. A soft voice could be heard whispering, "Am I dead? Am I dead?" And once an abomination was witnessed by a group of New Year's Eve revelers, a hideous shape crawling across the second-floor stair lamp in the darkness as if searching blind.
You know,
something.
You gotta throw people into the deep end sometimes.
Suddenly and glided away, nightmarish and black with no face to speak of. The large dwelling eventually fell victim to neglect and was converted into
It was kind of nice time.
boarding. But I can distinctly remember once in the 1970s when a young expectant mother living there broke out in a high fever one night and miscarried inside that same shuttered house, giving birth afterward to a stillborn boy at a nearby hospital. A stillborn baby boy, extremely misshapen and underdeveloped. No legs, no arms. The rambling old Penfield place still stands today, decaying and in ruins, a monument to all our very worst fears as human beings. The following is from Joan in Ferndale, Washington. During the 80s, I worked for a university in the Department of Journalism that had offices in an old Victorian house located off campus. A beautiful old structure with 3 floors and a widow's walk overlooking the bay. It was during the summer, and the faculty was gone, and I was left alone attending to the routine of the office. At first, I noticed a child crying, but upon checking, found no one. However, the desperate sound would continue over the summer, often interrupting my work. My office was located on the second floor in what used to be a bedroom, down a long hall with a Palladian window at the head of the stairs. It became increasingly difficult to mount the stairs, pass the window, and go to my office, as I had to pass through an atmosphere that was chillingly cold and somehow thick. On the 3rd floor was what used to be a servant's quarters, but were now used for storage. I had the keys to all the rooms. Was not able to open a door that was located at the end of the 3rd floor hall, though I tried repeatedly. My friend, who was intensely interested in all paranormal things, expressed an interest in investigating the old house. That Saturday was gray and wet, thoroughly depressing, made even more so by the house. We entered, went room to room, my friend feeling nothing until we reached the 3rd floor. Amazingly, she was able to unlock the door that I'd been unable to, and she did it with ease. It swung open to reveal a room papered in a yellow floral hanging in tatters, ragged curtains at the window. Upon the floor, in a thick layer of dust, was a child's tiny footprint. My friend said, "We've got to get out of the house now." Taking a piece of the torn paper before I shut and locked the door, we left, fighting our way down the stairs through what appeared to be a whirling, cold vortex. Hand over hand, gripping the banister, we forced our trembling feet step by step until we thankfully reached the lower hall. Backward glance revealed 3 columns of a gray fog interspersed with pinpoints of light. I was shaking so badly I could hardly insert the key and lock the old front door. Later, my friend, a piece of the wallpaper to a psychic who informed her it had come from a nursery. The child, a little boy, had fallen down the stairs and broken his neck. His mother had gone insane with grief, had been locked away in the 3rd floor by her husband, an abusive man. The 3 continued to haunt the property. Even though the house was torn down and the land turned into a parking lot, still, late at night, if you look carefully as you drive by, you can see a gray-blue light spiraling up from the pavement. Wildcard line, you're on the air.
My name is Jessica, and I am from Victoria, BC, Canada originally. And my story is about there. A couple years ago, I was going to art school and had a part-time job at a grocery store. And a part of our art lessons were to go out into various parts of Victoria and like draw buildings and such things like that. So one field trip we had, we went to a grave site and we started drawing, tombstones and stuff. So I remember I sat down. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Anyways, I sat down and I started drawing this tombstone and this lady. There was a lady's name on there. Anyways, I started drawing it, and that's not the whole story. But a couple weeks later, I'm working at the grocery store, and I was pretty much the only one there. It was a really small grocery store, and I'm sitting there with another cashier, and in walks this lady, and I can't see her because I have my back to the door. But the other cashier that I was working with, we were talking, blah, blah, and she looks at me like she was so freaked out. So I turn around, and I look, and I see this weird lady with this long black dress on. I'm totally not lying. She was wearing this long black dress, long, straggly hair, gross-looking skin, like grayish tone. And, I'm an artist, so I can tell, people's skin tones. Anyways, she freaked me out so much. That was not what regular people looked like. So I screamed and ran away. That was, my first instinct was to just scream and run away. I couldn't believe it. And once I realized that I had screamed and ran away from this lady that I'm supposed to help, I'm in a grocery store, I realized this. I went back and said, I composed myself, and I said, can I help you? And she's like, I don't know where I am, in this really creepy voice. So I was so freaked out by this lady. I looked at her, and I was really close, and her eyes looked like they were just held up by two sticks. It was bugging out of her face. And I said, you don't know where you are? Let me call you a cab. So I said, what's your name? And she said, it's Elizabeth. And just a couple weeks earlier, when I was drawing this tombstone, I remember what the name of that lady was, and there were fresh flowers there, and it looked like it was a fairly fresh grave, and that name was Elizabeth. And I was so freaked out by this lady. She did not look like she was walking. She looked like she was floating. She had no footsteps at all, and just shook me up so much. And it's been 5 years, and I still get creeped out when I think about her.
Maybe by drawing that tombstone, you essentially called Elizabeth.
I have no idea, but I do know that Victoria, where I'm from in Canada, in the whole Pacific Northwest up there, is really, really big on witchcraft. And, I don't know if I had just seen, that parallel between the living and the dead, but that person that I saw that, hovered at me was not human. And I don't really tell that story very much because, obviously I don't think people are going to take me seriously, but my first instinct, and I heard you were talking about this earlier, Art, was to scream and run. And I did. And I don't do that with people who are living and alive,
I hear you. All right. Thanks for the story. I really appreciate it. If something like that happened to me, if an obviously dead person was in front of me, floating in front of me with gray skin, eyes that just didn't look, I don't know, human, alive human, I'd scream. I'd run. I'm sure I would. To the Rockies, you're on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Elliot out of Arizona.
Yes.
When I was 9, 10 years old, my mother and my grandmother and we all went on a picnic and out in the country to this lake. And as it was getting dark, we decided to leave. And my grandmother took the wrong turn, and she didn't realize it. We were traveling down this dirt road for a long ways, and she realized that she went the wrong way, and we pulled up to his driveway. And by this time it was night, and there was a glowing pillar that we noticed off the side of the road. It was like bluish white pillar. And we started driving up closer to it, and I remember my mother started screaming, back the car up, and she started beating her hands on the dashboard, and we could see it was an apparition of a woman, and it was drifting towards the car. And yeah, and so we get the heck out of there.
But you also saw it.
Yeah.
And it was indeed an apparition of a woman.
Yes. All three of us seen it.
All right. And so you beat Pete and got out of there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. As I would do. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Good morning. Okay.
Hi there.
Hi.
I got a good one for you.
Fire away.
Okay. My family owned a funeral home. About 3 years into my career, done plenty of removals, went to plenty of hospitals, been in plenty of morgues, been in plenty of homes. But this one peculiar situation came up where we were actually hired to remove a man from a hospital who was being frozen, cryonics. I don't know how familiar you are with that, but...
I know about the procedure. Sure.
And, so I was on death watch that night. He was actually close to death for 3 days. And it's just a matter of waiting for him to take his last breath for the doctor to actually pronounce him, and then they give him the lethal shot of barbiturates and hook him up to a respirator, a heart-lung respirator, which actually pounds on his chest. Well, we did that, and not even thinking anything of it. I did the removal. I put him on the gurney, strapped him in the gurney. This machine's pumping.
If I might, let me stop you for a second. I don't quite understand the procedure. In other words, the doctor pronounces him dead.
Correct.
Okay, but then he's given a lethal shot.
Lethal injection of barbiturates.
Why would that be necessary?
Well, from my understanding, because the heart-lung machine is put on almost immediately after he's pronounced dead.
Okay, all right. Okay.
And I asked the same question. I mean, I'm thinking the same thing, but I'm not really thinking this until about what I'm about to tell you actually happened.
Sure.
Anyways, I put him in the car. He's in the gurney. We're in the station wagon. The machine's pumping in the back, and I turn on the radio, and I'm just driving along. All of a sudden, in my mind, I hear like kind of a moan, and I look in the rearview mirror, and I shook my head and said no. And then again, I heard this. Where are we going? And I look in the rearview mirror, and it was kind of like a ghostly image, but it was like I turn around, and it's not there, but I see him actually sit up. And I turned around, and I shook my head. I said, no. I said, this is my head. And I turned the radio up. And as I turned the radio up, it got louder. Where are we going? And I pulled the car over. I put it in park. And I turned the radio off. I said, you've got to be kidding me.
Like, right.
And no, I said it out loud. I said, you have got to be kidding me. I said, I've been doing this for 3 years. And I said, I do one thing that is different. And can you hear me talking? He goes, yeah, where are we going?
My God.
I said, well, we're going to the funeral home. He goes, no, we're not supposed to go to the funeral home. I said, where are we supposed to go? He goes, I'm supposed to just wake up and be well again. I said, wow. I said, this is wrong what we're doing. He goes, well, what have I done? And I explained it to him. I'm sitting there in the car talking.
So you're having a full conversation with a dead man.
Well, that's going through my head. I was like, well, is he dead?
Well, if you're having that kind of conversation,
I'm sorry?
If you're having that kind of conversation, I'd be turning around or something. I mean,
I did. I turned around. Every time I would turn around,
I don't mean turn around in the car. I mean turn around and head back to the hospital. If you're having that kind of conversation with somebody, anyway, you go ahead, sir.
No, I know it wasn't with him in his physical body though. Because in the mirror, I could see him sit up, and I can visually, see him. But when I turned around, the machine's just going. But the weird thing was I didn't feel fear. I thought as I look back, I should have been running out of the car screaming and yelling.
Yeah.
But this guy, and I knew this guy was stuck because he realized, and I realized, I felt horrible because we got paid a lot of money just to put this machine on this guy, and then bring him back to the funeral home, pack him in ice, put him in an ambulance to be put into nitrogen. And the thing is I actually had to coerce him to go, because he was going to stay. He was going to stay in the funeral home. And my dad, I really haven't told this story to anybody, but my dad asked me, he goes, what's wrong with you? I said, what we did tonight was wrong. I said, this man is what he's expecting of this cryonics is not, I know for sure is not going to work. And he's stuck. He was stuck.
Obviously, this man thought it was going to work.
Yes, he did. And he was going to stay. He was hanging out at the funeral home when the ambulance took off. I said, you can't stay here.
Well,
what do I do? I don't know.
How did you finish up the conversation with the man?
I'm sorry?
How did you finish up the conversation with the man?
With telling him that he must go with his body in the ambulance, and he needs to figure out his path. I mean, it was weird, but I told him that he couldn't. I've never dealt with anything like this before, and he couldn't stay with me. It wasn't like he wanted to stay with me. He was stuck. It was like traumatic for him. It was
That'd
like
be the last body I'd ever drive.
But it was freaking. That was the last cryonics situation we put ourselves into.
That's an amazing story. Just absolutely amazing. And how you kept your cool through that, I'll never know.
It was strange because I didn't, in my mind, and throughout my career, I had actually put it out of my mind. I said, you know what? There's got to be no such thing as ghosts because I deal with bodies every day, fresh death in situations, and I've never ever anything. And when I heard him say, "Where are we going?" and I saw him sit up in the rearview mirror, I pulled over and I said, "You've got to be kidding me."
I hear you. All right, sir. I really appreciate the story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe there's something different about the expectation of a spirit that was, frankly, expecting to wake up in good health. In other words, he was expecting to be cryonically frozen and to wake up one day in the far future healthy and probably wealthy if he had good investments. But instead, he woke up on the way to the cryonics lab. Neither here nor there. That is a freaky story.
Hi. My name is Candy, and I'm calling from Sacramento.
Yes, Candy.
Well, my story is a pretty scary one. I haven't told many people this throughout my lifetime. I'm 36 now.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the weather was hot, so it must have been around June or August in the summer months from school. And I was in the 6th grade. And the family was on vacation and at home. I didn't go with
We are all ball lovers.
So I can't remember that now. But Grandpa stayed with me, and he was in the living room, and I was coloring on at the dining room table. And I had one of these old organs in my room. And down the hallway, I could hear this music coming from the organ, and I knew I didn't leave it on. And it didn't play by itself. And it was beautiful yet eerie.
Indeed I am.
I kept coloring.
Get out of here, Darkest. Get out of here.
Anytime soon, but it kept going.
Wow.
And I kept...
Wow.
When I went down the hallway, there was this chill in the air.
So boring.
And Grandpa had told me a couple of
So boring.
that if I were to experience anything scary,
But yes, have a good night.
and everything would be all right.
Thanks for stopping by.
And I was getting scareder by the moment I kept walking up the hallway to my room. And I called on the name of Jesus, but it didn't go away.
Did you get into the room?
I got so close to the doorway that the music was blasting my ears. And what happened was I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to go back and get Grandpa because I thought I could handle this by myself. Then
I can hear you. I can actually hear the fear in your voice as you're telling this.
I've been listening since 1998 to you and George Norrie. And this is the first time that I've ever been able to get onto the radio to tell my experience.
Okay, so what finally happened? Did it just stop or what?
No, when I turned into the doorway real fast like, there was this thing that I can't describe to anybody, but I could have drawn pictures of it to...
Okay, we'll try. You're going to have to give it a try. This thing,
yes.
Non-human thing. I guess if it was human, you wouldn't say thing, would you?
No, it was unearthly. I have no formal description of how to put into words what it looked like, but it was red. And it was glowing.
Oh.
And it must have been a demon that I saw.
Did it have a form, a body, arms, legs, that kind of thing, or any appendages at all?
Yes, and it was using its hand-like fingers on my organ player.
Yikes!
And it looked straight at me with yellow eyes.
Yellow eyes.
And
red with yellow eyes.
Yeah, it was the most unbelievable, undescribable being. And I'm shaking right now, but
I can hear it.
It challenged me at the age of 6 years old. So I said, in the name of Jesus Christ, be gone, I command you. And it lifted its head up like it had never been told this before and just vanished.
Whew. All right, well, that's some story. That's some story, and those are some words from a 6-year-old. I really appreciate your call.
Well, thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for making it. Take care. Yellow eyes, huh? Art, longtime SWL, ham, and Coast fan. That means shortwave listener. Thought about telling you about this one for some time, so here goes. Back in 1978, I was driving out in a secluded rural area sometime after midnight on a date with a young lady. We parked on a deserted country road, talking and enjoying each other's company, when we noticed all the dogs and coyotes in the area were howling like crazy. So much so that we were a bit spooked at this point. It was well past the time that she was supposed to be home. I started out of there, driving her on home, which was nearby, well out in the boonies. We approached her house from the long way round, as she didn't really want to go home yet. But I was anxious to get her home lest we both get in hot water with her parents. Anyway, we were rolling slowly toward her house, and we approached an old church. It was about an 1/8 mile from her house. It was such an old church that it had a graveyard in the back of it, as was practiced years ago. Remember that? Anyway, my date suddenly said, "Look at that!" I looked, and I saw what appeared to be a woman crossing on foot from the old church across the road in front of our path. So I slowed the car to a near stop, and the, in quotes, woman crossed the road, probably not more than 50 feet in front of the car. But in the headlights, I could see it was a woman in a nightgown and nightcap of the old style, but she was floating about 2 feet off the ground and had no legs. I could also see that her eyes were just dark holes. No eyes visible. She never looked at us, but just stared straight ahead. My date was totally freaking out by now. I was so astounded, this part grabs me, that I stopped the car and popped the door open thinking I would jump out and get a closer look at this thing. But my date having none of it, screamed at me to get us the hell out of there. The woman continued on across the road, passing right through rows of vines that grew parallel to the road. My girlfriend was just about hysterical at this point, made me promise to sit outside her house for a while, make sure nothing was around. That was the most fantastic thing I've ever seen. And believe me, Art, an absolutely true story.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What is your first name?
I'm Sandy.
Sandy. All right. Where are you, Sandy?
Juneau, Alaska.
Juneau, Alaska.
Yes.
Has it begun to get cold up there yet?
Well, we've had a couple of real hard frosts, 20 degrees at night.
Oh, well, that's cold.
But right now it's around in the 50s. So, and we have a lot of rain. You know, we're a rainforest.
Oh, I know. Most people think Alaska's all equals. Well, Juneau's, way down there.
Yeah.
Capital and all that.
And it's right on the ocean, and we get a lot of warm currents.
People don't know that your town is accessible only by air or sea. I mean, that's it, right?
That's correct. They keep saying they're thinking about building a road, but it would be a very expensive project.
Yes, it would. So Juneau is a very isolated town.
Yes.
Anyway, what's your story?
Well, this occurred about 20 years ago. I was going through a really bad divorce. There was a lot of violence in the marriage and stuff. And the doctor had given me some medication to help me sleep. Now, I was lying in bed, and I was lying on my stomach. And all of a sudden, I felt a very heavy pressure sit on the side of the bed right next to me. And I tried to get up to, I was concerned that it was my soon-to-be ex-husband maybe sitting next to me or whatever.
Sure.
But I was trying to turn around to see, but I couldn't. And all of a sudden, I heard this, it was like a woman's laugh, and like a woman who was a really heavy smoker.
Uh-huh.
And she laughed.
A raspy laugh.
Yes, very, very gravelly sounding
Yes.
is what I call it. And I tried to sit up again, and it was like she flung herself backwards on top of me and was just laughing and laughing. So I tried to reach
Definitely sleep paralysis.
Grabbed the hair on the head, and I pulled it, and the head came off.
Oh, my God.
And so I'm holding it by the hair, and I look at it, and it's just a real wrinkly old face. And
Most people would be inclined to drop it like a hot potato.
Well, I fainted, actually. But well, anyway, it woke up while it was in my hand, and that's when I fainted.
What? Say what? It woke up in your hand.
And so then I came to. My dog was whimpering and sniffing at me.
Boy, hey, I'm with you. I'd faint too. I'd faint, dead out.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And when I woke up, there were a few strands of hair in my hand.
Oh my God.
And so for a minute there, I wanted to throw them away. To just throw them out and get rid of it right away.
At the very least.
But I thought, I'm going to put them on the nightstand. And so I did, and I sat up in bed for a long, long time. Finally, the dog fell asleep, and she seemed pretty calm. And so I went back to sleep, fortunately. And so I woke up in the next morning, and I remembered what had happened. And I looked over to the dresser where I'd put the hairs, and they were gone. But I was so very terrified.
Oh my God! Well, that qualifies as one of the worst I've heard. Thank you very much. Take care. Oh, now that's bad. That's really bad. You grab at a ghost's hair, and you grab it by the hair, and the head comes off in your hand, and then the head wakes up, and then our caller faints, and I don't blame our caller a bit. First time caller line, you're on the air. Hi.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to finally get a hold of you and be able to talk to you. Also wanted to say your family's always in our prayers.
Thank you. What is your first name?
Dwight. And we're in Colorado Springs, and we listen to you on KVOR 740.
All right. Excellent. Proceed.
We thank you. And, it's rather strange. It started as a child. I have a twin brother, and my mother had tried to commit suicide, and we were clear at the other end of the house, and sleeping, and we both got up, went to the door, and saw her in there, and we went out to shake her, and she kind of looked up and looked at both of us, and then just dropped her head, and being kids, we didn't know what the hell to do except run in and, hey, Dad, Mom's dead, I think, and that during that period of time, we went to family and friends, and that night we came back home, and we're laying there in bed, and I'm looking in the hallway. I mean, I just couldn't sleep, and I seen the head of my mother. Nothing below the neck, just the head, and it comes right at me, and I didn't even find out until just recently. My twin brother saw the same thing.
Really? It's like the third story like this tonight. You both saw the same thing.
The same thing, and what was funny is because it was proportional to what the head size would be in the hallway.
Right.
And it would come towards you and get bigger and bigger until it just like encompassed you and went right past you. And then other times, in her house, or her mother's house, I would be, as a kid, be looking across the street, and I don't want to call it shadow people because I don't know what to call it. It's just a feeling you get from looking at a certain area.
All right. I'm going to call it here.
It's like a ceramic piece, and every time you looked at it, it was almost like it was somebody. And just the other night, I was just sitting here.
That's the end. Bye-bye.
Your Coast to Coast website.
Yes.
And I just felt this real hard nudge on my shoulder.